Chapter 1605, Plot. Emperor Dong saw that Emperor Qi looked strange, so he asked, "What are you thinking about?" Emperor Qi's heart was racing, but he was sure he was right. Had Lin Feng already become a terrifying deployment spellcaster? "Father, I think that Muan might be someone we know," said Emperor Qi. "Who?" Qi Yun Shao immediately stood in front of Emperor Qi. "Lin Feng," said Emperor Qi. The atmosphere suddenly became quiet. Of course, he remembered Lin Feng, that obstinate and unruly guy Emperor Xinyu had taken away. He had reappeared almost 2 years later with the Yao Yi amulet and was even more arrogant than before. Lin Feng. The white-bearded emperor looked furious. Zhou Tianshao released Golden Holy Qi unintentionally after he remembered kneeling down to him. "Why do you think it's Lin Feng?" Qi Yun Shao and the others were getting upset just thinking about it. Lin Feng has some techniques which allow him to change his face and qi. Besides, he doesn't like Celestial Qi Castle, the Palace of Medicinal Kings and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Lin Feng made those people from the Palace of Medicinal Kings kneel down to him before. Emperor Qi glanced at the white-bearded emperor. The white-bearded emperor nodded as he remembered that. Besides, back then, Lin Feng had only broken through to the 8th Zun Qi layer and during the past 3 years, he hasn't progressed. That would make sense since if he'd been studying deployment spells the entire time. In the end, when he saw us and Master Me, he immediately understood what was going on and used a deployment spell to escape. He recognized Master Me because he is Lin Feng, he knows who Master Me and what he does, explained Emperor Qi. Lin Feng managed to learn so much about deployment spells in just 3 years, asked Qi Yun Shao. "Master, I remember something that happened some years ago." Back then Lin Feng had only broken through to the Tian Qi layer, said Emperor Qi. He then continued, "Back then, in the small world, in Fortune Shrine, the diviner told Lin Feng his future would certainly be incredible and that he had very rare abilities." "I see, if that's the case then we have to kill him, no matter the cost," said Qi Yun Shao. "Since it's Lin Feng, do you know what we should do against him?" asked Qi Yun Shao to Emperor Dong and Emperor Qi. They knew Lin Feng the best since they had lived in the small world. "Unless he shows up willingly, I'm not sure there's anything we can do," said Emperor Qi. "Willingly?" asked Qi Yun Shao frowning. "He's not stupid, he won't come out to commit suicide." "We can try something else then," said Emperor Qi. "You control some of Lin Feng's disciples and friends. Threaten them and maybe then Lin Feng will show up." "I don't think he'd take such risks for a few friends," said Qi Yun Shao. "Cultivators cherish their own lives, not others." "Master, we can try. We can give him a few days and if he doesn't show up, we'll kill his friends. We can kill 1 person each day. After we kill 2 people, if he still hasn't show up, then that means he won't show up at all. We should only kill the weakest ones, so that we still have the strongest ones under our control," said Qi Qian Xing. Qi Yun Shao nodded, "All right, let's try that. Let's disperse and in 3 days, if Lin Feng still hasn't shown up, we can kill his friends." "Roger, Master." "We'll spread the news," said Emperor Qi and the others. "Would Lin Feng show up though?" "Lin Feng, if you show up, we'll bury you alive," thought Zhou Tianshao. At that moment, Lin Feng was resting in a guest house while making talismans. He had to prepare himself for the worst. He didn't know about Emperor Qi's evil plot just yet. Mui stayed in a room next to Lin Feng's, but he wasn't in his room. Instead, he walked around and listened to people's conversations. With his strength, he could easily leave. Besides, Celestial Qi Castle wanted Lin Feng, not him. However, he had become good friends with Lin Feng since they left the small world together. A few hours later, Mui came back to the guest house with some bad news. People were plotting against Lin Feng. He didn't know that Lin Feng's friends were imprisoned in Celestial Qi Castle. Now it made sense that Lin Feng hated them. Mui walked to Lin Feng's courtyard to tell him about it. Lin Feng would have to make his own decision about what they'd do. Mui knocked at Lin Feng's door. "Come in," said Lin Feng. He stopped making talismans as Mui came in. Once he recognized Mui, Lin Feng smiled and said, "Master Mui, what are you doing here?" Mui and Lin Feng had agreed that they had to stay alone to reduce any suspicions about them. "Lin Feng, do you have any friends imprisoned in Celestial Qi Castle?" asked Mui. Lin Feng nodded. "Master Mui, how do you know?" "Celestial Qi Castle is plotting against you. They said that in 3 days, if you don't go to Celestial Qi Castle, they'll kill your friends, one each day." Lin Feng visibly shuddered in anger after heard Mui. His eyes turned pitch black and some qi emerged from his body involuntarily. Celestial Qi Castle. Lin Feng clenched his fists. "Emperor Dong or Emperor Qi," said Lin Feng while grinding his teeth. They were the only ones who knew him well enough. Mui saw Lin Feng's reaction, so he understood what he was thinking. He asked, "What do you intend to do, Lin Feng?" Lin Feng hesitated. If he showed up, he wouldn't be able to escape, but if he didn't go, his friends would die. Lin Feng smiled and asked, "Master Mui, what would you do if you were me?" "I don't know," said Mui shaking his head. "Master Mui, you go back. I'll continue making these talismans," said Lin Feng. Mui nodded and left the room. "Lin Feng, relax, don't let the outside world influence you. You're very talented, and someday you'll reach the clouds. When that day comes, you'll be able to get your revenge." Then, Mui closed the door and left Lin Feng alone. Chapter 1606, Celestial Summer Castle. After Mui went back to his room, Lin Feng was completely alone. When Mui asked him if he had friends imprisoned in Celestial Qi Castle, Lin Feng had already guessed what was going on. Now they knew he was Lin Feng, and the only one who could have guessed that would be Emperor Dong and Emperor Qi. If he showed up, it'd prove it was him, but even if he didn't admit it, they'd still kill his friends because they were sure it was him. However, Lin Feng also wondered whether they'd dare kill him or not. After all, he was now a member of Yaoyi Island. "If I show up as a deployment spellcaster, Celestial Qi Castle will kill me," thought Lin Feng. They wouldn't let someone live if that person could pose a threat to their security. Phew, Lin Feng continued thinking about it while continuing to make talismans. That night, an invisible and inaudible shadow crossed the courtyard. One couldn't see it unless there was light, and even then, they'd only see a shadow on the ground. Inside the buffer zone, on the side of Celestial Summer Castle, things were very calm. People were either sleeping or practicing cultivation. However, that shadow appeared and started sleeking about. In one of the rooms, Xia Yu said, "Who?" "It's me," Lin Feng said a voice. Xia Yu was surprised. "Lin Feng? What did he want from him?" "Come in," said Xia Yu indifferently. A shadow appeared in front of Xia Yu. He smiled and said, "Master Muen, you're here, you're brave." Since Lin Feng was there, it proved the rumors were true. Lin Feng was Muen. "I came to see you, Master." "Why would I need to be brave for that?" said Lin Feng, smiling. "Celestial Qi Castle, the Palace of Medicinal Kings, and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness are looking for you everywhere. Are you not afraid that we could capture you and hand you over to them?" asked Xia Yu in a cold way. "Would it benefit you to do that, Master?" asked Lin Feng. "So, what do you want?" asked Xia Yu, standing up. He looked enthusiastic. "I want to make a deal with you. In 3 days, Celestial Qi Castle plans to kill me, but I want you to attack and take me away safely," said Lin Feng. Xia Yu was surprised and asked, "You want me to offend 3 groups of influence? What do you have for me in exchange?" "Mui and I have obtained 2 of the everlasting Celestial Emperor's great deployment spells, the Shattering and the Illusion deployment spells. You must have heard of the explosive power of the Shattering deployment spell. You can have both, so what do you think?" Lin Feng asked. Besides, Celestial Summer Castle doesn't need to show up, you just have to protect me and help me leave safely. That explains how he's become so strong. He obtained some of the everlasting Celestial Emperor's great deployment spells, thought Xiaoyu. He was tempted, of course. With the strength of the Zun Qi layer, Lin Feng had managed to kill 7 emperors. If the Celestial Summer Castle could get those, they'd become a lot stronger and their territory would be better protected. What if I captured you now and made you give me the deployment spell? Asked Xiaoyu. Lin Feng must have known that Xiaoyu was strong enough to do that. I told Mui I was coming here, and if I don't go back, he'll inform everyone, including Yao Yi Island. If Celestial Qi Castle wants to kill me, they have their own reasons. However, if you decide to kill me because of the deployment spells I have, I don't think Yao Yi Island will be happy, said Lin Feng calmly. No wonder you're not worried. What if I can't protect you when the right time comes? Asked Xiaoyu. Master, if you accept, I'll transmit the illusion deployment spell to you right away. Then, after you help me leave safely, I'll transmit the shattering deployment spell to you. Of course, if I realize that you didn't do your best on the D-Day, you can forget about it. However, if you want to obtain my illusion deployment spell and then don't appear on the D-Day, even if I die, Yao Yi Island will remember you and will come to settle accounts, explained Lin Feng. Now, I need an answer. I need to go and find some other people as well. It seemed like Lin Feng had spent some time planning this out. Alright, it's a deal, said Xiaoyu, nodding. Great, I'll transmit the illusion deployment spell to you now then, said Lin Feng, condensing his godly awareness. It then emerged from his third eye and moved to Xiaoyu's third eye. Master, I'm off. Lin Feng then quickly left the room and disappeared in the darkness. Xiaoyu left the room and looked at the shadow, whispering, he's incredible. Such young people are rare. Even if we don't make friends with him, we can't be enemies. Celestial Qi Castle and the others wanted to kill Lin Feng, but who knew what he would do in the future? Lin Feng left Celestial Summer Castle and went to his second target. Mui was in front of Lin Feng's door, but it was closed. Mui looked at the sky, noting that the sun was high above the city. The weather was good, but Lin Feng didn't seem to care about appreciating it. Mui had mixed feelings. He was sad for Lin Feng and at the same time, he was happy that he didn't go. It was difficult to explain. What is he doing? Whispered Mui. He wanted to inspect Lin Feng's room with his awareness. He hadn't disturbed Lin Feng the past few days, but now he wanted to see what he was doing or how he was feeling. He opened the door and looked astonished. Where was Lin Feng? How come? Mui was surprised. He hadn't heard Lin Feng leave. He had been observing Lin Feng's house for 2 days and he hadn't seen anything. Moron, thought Mui. Maybe Lin Feng left the other day and hadn't come back. He was convinced that Lin Feng hadn't ran, so there was only one reason. Lin Feng didn't want Mui to be involved, so he hadn't told him he was going. What a guy, thought Mui, smiling wryly. Then, he disappeared from there and immediately flew toward Celestial Qi Castle's buffer zone. Mui wasn't the only there. Countless people knew about Master Mu En and Lin Feng now. The one who had caused trouble 4 to 5 years ago had come back and pretended to be someone else. Then he tried to cause trouble between Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of Medicinal Kings. Are those Lin Feng's friends? They look extraordinarily strong, at least they aren't any weaker than the younger generation from Celestial Qi Castle. They have potential, thought the crowd. Would Lin Feng show up though? Many people thought that Lin Feng would die if he showed up. Emperor Dong, Emperor Qi, Qi Qianxing, they were all there looking at Yuan Fei and 3 other disciples from Tiantai in a cold way. Would this work? Strong cultivators from the Palace of Medicinal Kings and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness were there too. If Lin Feng showed up, they'd make sure he died. Chapter 1607, Kidnapping Lin Feng. Emperor Dong took a step forwards and glanced at the crowd. Lin Feng could change his face, so he might be in the crowd. Lin Feng, "I now you're here, just come out," said Emperor Dong. Everybody heard him, even those who were far away. Emperor Dong's robe fluttered in the wind and he was smiling a cold way. If Lin Feng didn't come out, they were going to kill his friends. "Master Me." Emperor Dong turned around and bowed before Master Me. Master Me looked at Yuan Fei and the others. "You four, fight against each other. When one person dies, stop." Yuan Fei and the others' mouths twitched. They glanced at each other, and even though they didn't want to, they had no choice but to obey Master Me. Qi Yun Shao, Emperor Dong, Emperor Qi and Jin Chen Jun guarded the surroundings. Lin Feng won't come, thought the crowd. The probability that Lin Feng would come was small, everybody knew that, but they still came. However, at that moment, a silhouette rose up in the air from the crowd. He was wearing a white robe, he looked handsome, and had long black hair. "Lin Feng, it's you," said Emperor Qi. He had guessed right, Mu'en was Lin Feng. "Lin Feng, I, Zhou Tianshao, will kill you," shouted Zhou Tianshao furiously. It was Lin Feng. Other members from Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of Medicinal Kings were all staring at Lin Feng. "I am here. Master Me, make them stop fighting," said Lin Feng. Master Me waved and said, "Move back." Yuan Fei was bleeding. He looked up at Lin Feng with bloodshot eyes. He looked sad because he was being controlled. He was sad because his friend, whom he considered a brother, had come to die for him. However, what he felt in his heart different from what he thought rationally, his soul was sealed, and he could only listen to orders. Ban Roa and the others felt the same. They felt humiliated, but they could only listen to Master Mi's orders. "I'm very surprised, Lin Feng, I can't believe your Master Mu'en," said the white-bearded man from the Palace of Medicinal Kings. Lin Feng had killed 7 of his emperors and would pose a threat to them in the future. "Back then, you said you'd make the Palace of Medicinal Kings pay, and now I really think you could do it if it weren't for the fact that you're not going to leave today." Many people rose up in the air behind Lin Feng, blocking his escape. There were a dozen emperors in that group. "Don't you fear Yaoyi Island?" asked Lin Feng to the crowd. "Of course we do, but do you think you can do whatever you want thanks to Yaoyi Island? Those things are between you and us, not Yaoyi Island and us. Qingdi Mountain won't let Yaoyi Island get involved anyways," said Qi Yunlei. "Lin Feng, cripple your own cultivation and we won't kill you." "Cripple my own cultivation? Ridiculous," said Lin Feng smiling coldly. He glanced at Emperor Dong and Emperor Qi and said, "You guessed it was me, right? We also came up with the idea of killing your friends to make you show up, and it worked," said Emperor Qi. "You will regret that very quickly," said Lin Feng, glaring at Emperor Qi. Then, he glanced at the crowd, and his eyes gradually became pitch black. "Celestial Qi Castle, listen to me carefully, if you kill me, fine, but if I leave, don't threaten me using such methods again. If you do, I won't show up, instead I will make all of the strong cultivators from Yaoyi Island come and kill you without exception." Lin Feng then released demonic qi which dashed to the skies. "Remember what I said. I always follow through on what I say. I'm a demon cultivator, so I don't have emotions, therefore, I hope for you that there won't be a second time." There were 30 powerful emperors there while Lin Feng was alone with Mui. Lin Feng was a demon cultivator, but was he actually emotionless? Why had he shown up if he was emotionless? "You think you can escape?" asked Qi Yunshao, "Capture him." A few emperors moved towards Lin Feng, reaching for him. Boom! Suddenly, in the distance, black silhouettes appeared and divided themselves into 2 groups of around 10 people. Those people were all emperors. How could Lin Feng persuade around 20 emperors show up? "Stop them," shouted Qi Yunshao furiously. "Hurry up and run," shouted one of those people. "Do you think you can escape?" Qi Yunshao, the white-bearded emperor from the Palace of Medicinal Kings and the medium-level emperor from the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness flew forwards. A gigantic hand moved towards Lin Feng, as well as vines, and golden holy qi. Lin Feng shook his hands and talismans appeared. He then threw them around and destructive energies surged out. Explode! Lin Feng threw more talismans. He was covered in a cold sweat because he knew that it would only take a small mistake and he'd die. He moved like the wind using his wind chant, and at the same time those people wearing black clothes flew over to him and protected him. "Go," said one of them hoarsely. Their only goal was to protect Lin Feng. "Do you think you can leave?" shouted Qi Yunlei. A golden beam of light appeared, intertwining golden marks then formed, and a cage made from empty space energies formed. A deployment spell, Celestial Qi Castle also has deployment spell casters. Even though his deployment spell isn't as powerful as Lin Feng's, he's a medium-level emperor so his deployment spell must be, at least as strong. Lin Feng, thought the crowd. Cage, Qi Yunlei jumped forwards. "Lin Feng, you're going to die." Emperor Dong and Emperor Qi appeared next to him. Emperor Qi was the first one to release cosmic energies. Wind chant. Lin Feng started moving in the direction of Celestial Qi Castle. "Where are you going?" asked Emperor Dong, releasing terrifying empty space energies. Lin Feng threw a talisman as he ran away. He knew he couldn't fight against medium-level emperors, and he didn't mind using several talismans at this juncture. Chapter 1608, Difficult to Escape. "Stop him," shouted Emperor Dong, releasing more cosmic energies. Explode! Lin Feng threw another talisman, then suddenly, he disappeared and reappeared next to Qianxing. He made those talismans using empty space strength, but because he could only use abstruse energies to make them, he could only travel a short distance. Qianxing subconsciously shivered after he saw Lin Feng's pitch-black eyes. They contained both death and cursing energies. Empty space fissures. Qianxing released abstruse energies which moved towards Lin Feng. In the Great World, his fissures weren't as powerful as they were in Ba Huang, but still shouldn't be underestimated. Great Earth Destruction. Lin Feng punched the air in Qianxing's direction. Explosions sounded and Qianxing's hand crackled. His arm crackled too, it was feeling sore. Lin Feng was too preoccupied with everything going on around him, otherwise, he could have killed him. He had killed a cultivator who was much stronger than Qianxing with the same attack in the Great Imperial Everlasting Palace. "Lin Feng!" shouted Emperor Dong furiously when he heard Qianxing give a horrible shriek. Then a force multiplied by 1,000 oppressed Qianxing, a gigantic hand grabbing his head. The last things he saw were Lin Feng's pitch-black eyes. He was a cultivator at the very top of the Zun Qi layer, but he could barely compete with Lin Feng. Lin Feng had broken his arm in the blink of an eye, and now his life was in Lin Feng's hands. Emperor Dong, Emperor Qi Yunsheng, and Jin Chenjun surrounded Lin Feng. "Let him go," shouted Emperor Dong furiously. Lin Feng was still holding Qianxing by the neck. He looked at Emperor Dong with his pitch-black eyes and said, "If he takes me away safely, I'll think about it." "So, he will die," said Lin Feng with a demon voice. "No," shouted Qianxing furiously and his body started burning. He looked desperate. Was he going to die? Emperor Dong and Emperor Qi didn't know what to do. "Die!" Whoosh! Lin Feng moved like the wind, this time surprising everybody because he was moving towards Emperor Dong. Lin Feng was insane. Emperor Dong was a medium-level emperor, so how did Lin Feng plan to attack him? "Don't kill him," shouted Qi Yunlei furiously to Emperor Dong. Emperor Dong shook his head, he had almost forgotten about Qi Yunlei in that moment. "Even if I don't kill you, I'll cripple your cultivation," thought Emperor Dong. He couldn't kill Lin Feng, so he had to at least cripple his cultivation. "Explode!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. He turned into an illusion and at the same time, a talisman remained. Boom! A strong wind started blowing as destructive energies surrounded Emperor Dong. Then a loud sound followed. It seemed like Lin Feng's silhouette was going to explode. What's going on? Are there two Lin Fengs? The crowd didn't understand what they were seeing. The one who had thrown a talisman at Emperor Dong and the one who was attacking Emperor Dong were two different people. Lin Feng was bleeding and covered with sweat. The energies around him were too powerful. If Emperor Dong's attack had completely reached him, it would have crippled his cultivation. Piss off. Emperor Dong released more energies, but Lin Feng took out another talisman and disappeared again. He glanced at Emperor Dong, noticing that his talisman had exploded off one of Emperor Dong's arms. A medium-level emperor lost his arm. The crowd shivered. Jin Chenjun and the others didn't feel like attacking Lin Feng anymore. Emperor Dong had been too careless. He wanted to kill Lin Feng, but then Qi Yunlei shouted and distracted him. He thought that he could cripple Lin Feng's cultivation with that attack, but Lin Feng had prepared a rather powerful talisman. Emperor Dong hadn't dodged because he hadn't thought that Lin Feng wouldn't attack him head-on like that. Then, he had tried to attack Lin Feng again, but Lin Feng was too fast and dodged. You're a bunch of trash. You are emperors, but you can't even deal with him, shouted Qi Yunlei furiously. Seal the area, shouted Qi Yunsheng. The emperors surrounded Lin Feng once more. Lin Feng glanced at them and then jumped away without hesitation. Luckily, Celestial Summer Castle and the ancient Celestial Castle had sent so many emperors to help him. Besides, he also had his talismans to protect him. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to do anything. Lin Feng moved towards Emperor Qi this time. Emperor Qi looked concerned. Even though he was stronger, he feared Lin Feng after what he did to his father's arms. If Lin Feng used a talisman to attack him, he'd die. While Emperor Qi hesitated, Lin Feng closed the gap between them. At the last moment, Emperor Qi suddenly moved away. Piece of trash, shouted Qi Yunqing furiously. Emperor Qi was such a moron. Even if he didn't fight Lin Feng head-on, he could defend. Lin Feng threw two talismans at Emperor Qi as he ran away. Destructive energies quickly surrounded him, causing the empty space cage to shake violently. Qi Yunlei's deployment spell is quite powerful, thought Lin Feng. Surprisingly, he couldn't destroy it. At that moment, Emperor Dong and Qi Yunxiao arrived in front of him. Qi Yunxiao was shouting furiously. Then a gigantic empty space, golden hand moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng began to dodge, but Qi Yunxing released more energies and a curtain of empty space energies surrounded Lin Feng. Break! Lin Feng punched the curtain of light, breaking it apart. Lin Feng continued running away, but Emperor Dong appeared again, using the hand he still had to release cosmic energies. Emperor Dong didn't hesitate this time. He figured that Lin Feng probably had more talismans. As expected, Lin Feng took out another talisman, this one containing empty space strength. With it he disappeared. At the same time, outside of the cage, two silhouettes in black clothes finally broke through the cage, allowing Lin Feng to escape. You think you can still escape? Shouted Emperor Dong. He was faster than Lin Feng, so he quickly caught up with him. But at the same time, a black silhouette moved in front of him and blocked him. Qi Yunsheng and the others followed Lin Feng, but 1,000 deadly punches launched out as Lin Feng continued running away. Qi Yunlei glanced at Lin Feng in a cold way and smiled. Did he think he could escape? Where to? At that moment, more people appeared in front of Lin Feng, forcing him to stop. They were even more terrifying than Emperor Dong. Not far away, Lin Feng noticed Ni Chen from Qingdi Mountain. Qingdi Mountain. Lin Feng looked at him in a cold way. With his strength, he couldn't escape anymore. There were too many emperors, and with Qingdi Mountain, he had no chance. Chapter 1609, Mui's Methods. Emperor Ni Chen glanced at the crowd. Stop. Emperor Ni Qin yelled. Instantly, everybody stopped fighting. The cultivators in black clothes also stopped. Emperor Ni Qin glanced at those people in black clothes and said, "I don't care who you are, just leave, now." Emperor Ni Qin didn't want to ruin the cohesion between the 9 great celestial castles, so he made them leave before they showed who they were. The cultivators in black clothes moved away, they knew they couldn't do much in front of Qingdi Mountain. After a short time, all the cultivators in black clothes disappeared. The emperors from Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of Medicinal Kings were surrounding Lin Feng. What an army, thought the crowd, speechless. Lin Feng glanced at the strong cultivators from Qingdi Mountain. He hadn't thought that Qingdi Mountain would get involved. He took out a talisman and suddenly, he reappeared 1,000 meters away. However, even as he did this, Qi was blocking him. How could he escape? Vines appeared around his body and constricted him. Lin Feng felt like coughing up blood as they strangled him. He released demonic Qi to try and resist. Does he still think he can escape? The crowd was speechless. Against all expectations, Lin Feng took out another talisman. However, a golden hand appeared and blocked him. Lin Feng. Yuan Fei clenched his fists and released bestial Qi. He was furious, but he couldn't do anything about it. Ban Roa and the others felt the same. Their souls were sealed, but they still knew what they were feeling. They were too weak, so they couldn't break the seals on their souls. Lin Feng looked at Emperor Ni Qin and said, "Are you getting involved because of the tensions between you and Emperor Shenyu? Or is it because you are friends with Celestial Qi Castle? Perhaps it's because of my abilities when it comes to using deployment spells. I don't need to explain anything to you. Now, cripple your own cultivation and leave. Otherwise, you'll die," said Emperor Ni Qin calmly. He didn't need to justify himself, he could do whatever he wanted with Lin Feng and nobody could say a thing about it. Lin Feng didn't insist. If Emperor Ni Qin was that confident in his decision, then it meant he had already thought about Yaoyi Island. "Before I cripple my cultivation, you must fulfill your promise to Emperor Shenyu, a competition." "Where is your disciple?" asked Lin Feng to Emperor Ni Qin. "You're already dead, so the competition has become pointless. Just cripple your cultivation, I don't have time to waste with you." "If you don't, they will," said Emperor Ni Qin indifferently. However, Lin Feng smiled and said, "Ni Qin, you're a coward. You asked for a competition and now you're scared. Emperor Shenyu is infinitely stronger than you." "That guy is insane," thought the crowd. But it didn't matter anymore, he was going to have to cripple his cultivation now. "If you want to cripple my cultivation, make them come, at least then I'll cripple 1 or 2 of their cultivations," said Lin Feng in a demonic voice. With that, he took out many talismans and smiled devilishly. Ni Qin couldn't attack Lin Feng himself because he was too strong, and his social status was too high. So instead, he said, "Cripple his cultivation." Emperor Dong, Zhou Tian Roa, Qi Yun Sheng and the emperors from the Palace of Medicinal Kings released their qi at the same time, surrounding Lin Feng. Arg, Yuan Fei turned into a gigantic ape after going insane from watching. Emperor Ni Qin turned his head and saw Yuan Fei, he was surprised, he's in a frenzy. "Shut up." Master Mi appeared in the air above Yuan Fei and lights penetrated Yuan Fei's eyes. Even if Yuan Fei was getting out of control, Master Mi could solve the issue. Qingdi Mountain and the 9 great celestial castles are bullying a little cultivator of the Zun Qi layer, how amazing, said someone at that moment. Did someone want to die? Someone appeared next to Lin Feng and looked at the crowd in a despising way. What a powerful army to fight against a cultivator of the 8th Zun Qi layer. Hee hee. Qingdi Mountain is amazing, no wonder they reign over the region, said Mui mockingly. Qi Yun Xiao smiled in a cold way and said, Mui, initially, we only wanted Lin Feng, but it seems that you want to bring about your own destruction. Shut up, who the fuck do you think you are to talk to me that way, shouted Mui furiously. Qi Yun did shut up, he was wondering if Mui had a domineering social status. Lin Feng smiled wryly, thinking that he shouldn't have come. While everybody else was recovering from his rather sudden entrance, Mui was talking to Lin Feng using telepathy. "Who are you, Your Excellency?" asked Emperor Ni Qin indifferently. Even if Mui was there, Lin Feng was going to die. Mui was just a medium-level emperor, so he couldn't change anything. "Open your eyes and you'll understand who I am," said Mui in a cold way. Then a talisman appeared in his hand with a big word written on it, "Weapon." "Weapon?" Emperor Ni Qin scrunched his eyebrows. He recognized that it was a fire talisman at least. "Your Excellency, which weapon manufacturing group are you from?" "Qingdi Mountain's people really are ignorant, surprisingly, you don't even recognize my talisman." "You little dog, watch and learn," said Mui arrogant. He threw his talisman at Emperor Ni Qin and Emperor Ni Qin grabbed the talisman. From what Mui was saying, he seemed to belong to a very powerful group. Emperor Ni Qin looked at the talisman and tried to think of all the weapon manufacturing groups he knew of. "Explode!" Mui yelled loudly. The talisman Emperor Ni Qin was holding suddenly released a special qi, causing Emperor Ni Qin's facial expression to change drastically. The weapon talisman exploded, and the qi surrounded Emperor Ni Qin. At the same time, Lin Feng also used a talisman which contained cosmic energies. The space around them changed completely and the two of them disappeared. "Chase them," shouted Qi Yunlei furiously. A group of people started chasing them, but Mui was a medium-level emperor, so he was as fast as them. Let alone Lin Feng kept using talismans, widening the gap between them more and more. Chapter 16:10, Sealing the Exit. Qi Yunlei was the fastest one, whether by strength or determination. They had asked Qingdi Mountain to come to avoid any problems. Back then, when Emperor Qi told them that Master Muan was Lin Feng, he had asked Emperor Qi to transfer him some images of Lin Feng. After that he had realized that Lin Feng was also the one the great imperial palace was looking for. At that moment, Lin Feng and Mui were moving at full speed. Mui knew that his talisman couldn't slow down Emperor Ni Qin for too long, so they had to hurry. If Emperor Ni Qin caught up with them, they'd be doomed. "Don't hesitate in using all the talismans you've got," said Mui to Lin Feng. Lin Feng's entire body felt sore. He already knew he couldn't save any talismans at a time like this. "There." Lin Feng pointed at a direction. Lin Feng and Mui flew above some ruins. At the same time, lights flooded the sky and empty space strength surrounded them, then they disappeared. Teleportation deployment spell. They sensed the energies from very far away, there. However, Lin Feng and Mui used another deployment spell and disappeared again. Emperor Ni Qin chased them, but he soon stopped. "Where are they?" shouted Ni Qin furiously. He had lost them. Lin Feng kept using deployment spells. They couldn't stop Lin Feng and Mui. "There, I guess," said Qi Yun pointing in a direction. Emperor Ni Qin didn't have time to think as he immediately continued chasing them. However, at that moment, a person in black appeared. He looked ordinary and his wind abstruse energy looked weak, so nobody paid him any attention. After a short time, Emperor Ni Qin flew back looking furious. He couldn't even capture a cultivator of the Zun Qi layer. If they didn't manage to capture them, what would everybody think of Qingdi Mountain? "Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, you go and seal the area. They can't escape, no matter what. Then, tell all the 9 great celestial castles, including yourselves, to seal the buffer zone as well. Nobody can leave the buffer zone now," said Emperor Ni Qin. Even if Lin Feng changed his face, he wouldn't be able to leave now. "Hurry up. Guard the area. Nobody can leave," shouted Emperor Ni Qin after he saw that nobody reacted. "I'm going to guard the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness's exit." I'm going to the Palace of Medicinal Kings. I'm going to Celestial Qi Castle. People from the three groups hurriedly flew away with strong cultivators. Lin Feng and Mui had changed their faces again, but they didn't run in the direction of the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. This time they were running toward Celestial Summer Castle. How fast, thought Lin Feng. He wouldn't have thought that almost all the paths could be blocked before they escaped. During those 3 days, Lin Feng had cast teleportation deployment spells in many places where there weren't many people. Of course, without Mui, he couldn't do much, but now things were beyond Lin Feng's calculations. What about the paths to the other 8 castles, thought Lin Feng. He then immediately flew towards another city. But once he arrived, he realized that it was blocked too. He couldn't get out. Lin Feng frowned. All these areas were sealed. I can only wait again, thought Lin Feng, sighing. People kept flying above him, seemingly inspecting the crowd. Time passed, and people remained silent. They couldn't leave, but what could they do? Not much. Celestial Qi Castle didn't kill Yuan Fei at least. Lin Feng posed a threat, so he could come back for Yuan Fei another time and then they'd regret killing him. Also, it was a humiliation for them to kill powerless people. Time passed and on the second day, people could leave, however, they had to queue. The rules were even stricter, people had to leave within 7 days, emptying the buffer zone completely. Lin Feng smiled. He had figured that was something they'd try. Within those 7 days, he'd be able to leave, even if it was troublesome. Lin Feng didn't leave immediately, instead he patiently waited in his room in the guest house. Emperor Ni Chen was guarding the exit to Celestial Qi Castle as he glanced around and checked everyone passing through. There were 9 exits in the buffer zone and all of them were guarded by strong cultivators. They just had to wait for Lin Feng to show up. In the distance, above Buzhou Mountain, a gigantic animal was flying madly through the air. Its cosmic energies would create hurricanes as it flew along. There was someone wearing red clothes riding the animal's back, a gigantic ape, and a bunch of other animals. They were all flying in the direction of the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness. Chapter 1611, Landing. Lin Feng had no chance to leave the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness's territory. At that moment, the gates were closely guarded by more than 10 emperors from the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness. A few days into this lockdown, a strong wind carrying dust and sand rose to the skies from the distance. It was terrifying as it seemed to be getting closer. What's that? One of the emperors gazed into the distance and was startled by what he saw. That wasn't a natural occurrence, there was a silhouette inside that hurricane. Master, there's a powerful bestial qi coming from over there, said a low-level emperor. The thick bestial qi was getting denser and nearer. It's a beast, a terrifying one at that, replied the medium-level emperor who was gazing into the distance. They were starting to get a better view of it as it got closer. It was a type of flying beast. Suddenly, the medium-level emperor rose up in the air and shouted, "What brings you to the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness?" Bzzz, a terrifying wind blew around him. The gigantic beast stopped and then the emperors from the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness saw many beasts and humans resting on the back of the flying beast. Piss off, the flying beast was hundreds of meters long and was glancing at the crowd in a cold way. The medium-level emperor suddenly stopped moving and shivered. He realized that this beast could only be from Yaoyi Island. Yaoyi Island is here, realized the emperor, shaking. The beast suddenly disappeared from his field of vision and directly went to the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness. Something serious was about to happen. In the center of the great celestial palace of thoughtfulness, a terrifying black cloud appeared, causing many people to raise their heads and start shaking. It was a terrifying beast. Master, many people were standing behind a cultivator who was wearing a golden robe. They wanted to know what to do. This time, it's between the Qingdi Mountain and Yaoyi Island. We can only observe, said that person calmly. The Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness was only one of the 9 great celestial castles, so they couldn't deal with Yao Yi Island. After a short time, they arrived in front of a gate where people were being checked by guards. "Whom are you looking for?" asked a gigantic ape at that moment. He was black and looked as tall as a mountain. When he glanced around at the crowd, they felt as if they were paralyzed. The ape's voice was also extremely loud, resonating in the whole region. The strong cultivators from the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness looked astonished. They wanted to reply, but words wouldn't come out. Could they admit that they were looking for Lin Feng? Lin Feng was from Yao Yi Island, just like those beasts. "You came from so far to pay us a visit, it's our honor," said a medium-level emperor smiling. His voice was febrile, and he wasn't done talking when the gigantic ape shouted furiously, "We are asking you who you're looking for." The strong cultivator's mouth twitched, he was terrified. "Brother Hey, he's ignoring you," said the beautiful woman in red clothes smiling thinly. "Dear friends, we've been asked to look for Lin Feng," replied that person. Arg, the ape's energies erupted. "Let's go." A few emperors from the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness started running away, but the ape raised his gigantic hand and slapped the air. This simple slap was equivalent to mountains falling from the sky. "No," a few strong cultivators shouted furiously. The ground quaked ferociously, and then several gigantic canyons appeared in the ground. The ape himself landed on the ground, causing another gigantic crater to form. On the other side, the mountains which fell from the sky landed on the slower emperors, turning them into stones. Dong, dong, the ape continued running, each of his steps gave birth to earthquakes. Even though he was heavy and slow, each of his steps were wide. The crowd started panicking, just that ape alone was terrifying. The beasts who were still on the back of the gigantic flying beast jumped and started flying above the buffer zone. Even though they didn't attack, the people on the ground were still terrified. "Lin Feng, little boy, come out," shouted the ape extremely loudly. People's eardrums felt like they were going to explode after each syllable. "They're from Yao Yi Island and they're here for Lin Feng," thought the crowd. "Let's go back to the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, we can't get involved any longer," said a strong cultivator at that moment. Everybody in his group agreed. Qingdi Mountain and Yao Yi Island could fight each other if they wanted to, but the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness wouldn't do anything against them. Lin Feng came out of his room and looked at the animals, then he smiled in a resplendent way. His friends from Yao Yi Island were finally here. "Brother Lin Feng." Lin Feng raised his head and saw a familiar silhouette in red clothes. Lin Feng took off his mask and Hu Yu immediately noticed him. She grabbed him and hugged him tightly. "Brother Lin Feng, I missed you so much," said Hu Yu smiling. Lin Feng smiled wryly and said, "Hello sister Hu Yu." Hu Yu enjoyed fooling around with Lin Feng before he left, and since he'd been gone, she'd been bored. "Who bullied you? Tell me and I'll go and settle accounts with them," said Hu Yu looking angry. "You're hugging him so tight he can't talk, let go of him," said Emperor Shenyu. He was speechless too. "You talk too much," said Hu Yu glancing at Shenyu. "Uncle Yu," said Lin Feng smiling. The ground crumbled beneath them as the gigantic ape hopped over. "Uncle Feng, Uncle Shi," said Lin Feng to all the animal emperors. Chapter 1612, Power and Influence. Lin Feng, who wanted to kill you? Asked the stone ape. "The 9 great celestial castles, but the main perpetrators must be Qingdi Mountain," said Lin Feng. If Qingdi Mountain hadn't gotten involved, he would have escaped already. Qingdi Mountain. Emperor Shenyu looked furious as he said, "Lin Feng, tell us the details." "All right." Lin Feng nodded and explained the tensions between him and Celestial Qi Castle, and then what had happened after Emperor Ni-Chin appeared. Arg, the stone ape roared furiously, causing several buildings around them to explode. As soon as Lin Feng finished his story, the stone ape started running toward Celestial Chi Castle. The area became chaotic as people were running in all directions. Emperor Ni Chen finally sensed all those bestial energies at this time. Surprisingly, Yaoyi Island had come, and this time, it wasn't only Emperor Shenyu, but many strong cultivators. People from Celestial Chi Castle frowned, fearing for their lives. The ground started shaking under their feet, and then canyons and fissures started forming in the ground around them. The sounds were getting scarier and scarier. Finally, a gigantic black silhouette appeared before them, a gigantic ape. "They're here," thought the crowd, their hearts were pounding. The gigantic ape suddenly rose up in the air, suffocating everyone there. Emperor Ni Chen was there, but he remained motionless. Some of them raised their heads to see how tall the ape was, but he was so tall that they couldn't figure it out. There was also a wind beast resting on his back. Then Emperor Shenyu and a beautiful woman wearing red clothes appeared. Lin Feng was standing next to her. "Those who are not concerned can go piss off," shouted the gigantic stone ape. Instantly, people started running away. Only Emperor Ni Chen and some of the strong cultivators from Qingdi Mountain stayed. "Brother Shenyu, why did you come with so many friends from Yaoyi Island?" asked Emperor Ni Chen in a cold way. "You're asking me?" "Brother, sure, you tell him," said Emperor Shenyu, also in a cold way. The ape roared furiously and released cosmic energies which turned into a gigantic stone, crashing towards the ground like a gigantic meteorite. The gigantic ape suddenly started charging. "Stop!" yelled Emperor Ni Chen, his facial expression changed drastically. The ape ignored him, and the gigantic stone continued to fall from the sky, oppressing everything beneath it. Emperor Ni Chen looked furious at this point. He jumped forwards and suddenly, a terrifying light shot out and countless golden lights appeared. The gigantic mountain broke apart and turned into a myriad of small stones. Emperor Ni Chen controls two different types of cosmic energies, thought Lin Feng, empty space and golden cosmic energies. He was thus stronger than an emperor who controlled only one type of cosmic energy. "Brother, if you want to say something, talk with words," said Emperor Ni Chen to the stone ape coldly. "First, I'll slaughter someone from Qingdi Mountain and then we'll talk." "Lin Feng, whom should I slaughter?" asked Emperor Shenyu to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was surprised, but since Emperor Shenyu was asking him, Lin Feng wasn't going to refuse the offer. Emperor Ni Chen looked furious as he said, "You're not scared about things getting out of control? You're from Qingdi Mountain, but you gave one of my people the order to cripple his own cultivation. Weren't you afraid that things could get serious when you did that?" "Should Yaoyi Island be afraid?" asked Shenyu. Then, he said to Lin Feng, "Did you choose someone?" Lin Feng glanced at the people from Celestial Chi Castle. There were so many people he wanted to kill. "Since I have to choose someone from Qingdi Mountain, I have to choose someone who's also from Celestial Chi Castle," thought Lin Feng. Finally, he looked at someone and that person instantly filled with regret. Qi Yunsheng, he was an important member from Celestial Chi Castle and at the same time, he was also a cultivator from Qingdi Mountain. "Kill him," said Lin Feng pointing at Qi Yunsheng. "Emperor Ni Chen," said Qi Yunsheng to Emperor Ni Chen. He wanted Emperor Ni Chen to save him. The gigantic stone ape raised his hand and punched the air in Qi Yunsheng's direction. Emperor Ni Chen looked upset, but he performed some hand seals, and golden lights appeared. Then explosions sounded, and the golden lights disappeared. Emperor Ni Chen raised his hands again and a golden shield appeared, moving to block the fist. However, as they collided, the wind beast moved too. Because he controlled pure wind cosmic energy, few people could compete with him in terms of speed. "No," the crowd only heard Qi Yunsheng shout furiously. A strong wind brushed against his body, and he couldn't open his eyes anymore. When the crowd could see clearly again, Qi Yunsheng was in the air, the wind beast was holding him in his claws. "Master Ni Chen, save me," shouted Qi Yunsheng, he looked terrified. Ni Chen raised his head. He wanted to say something, but suddenly, Qi Yunxing's body was torn to shreds. He was an emperor, but he was so weak, thought Lin Feng. Shen Yu, said Emperor Ni Chen. People from Yaoyi Island had killed a cultivator from Qingdi Mountain in front of him, thus they weren't giving him any face. Are you angry? Who do you think you are to shout at me angrily? Shouted Emperor Shen Yu. Now, we have to talk seriously. How many people got involved in chasing my disciple? Said Emperor Shen Yu, glancing at the people from Celestial Qi Castle. Chapter 1613, Afraid to Fight. Talk. Emperor Ni Chen was baffled. In the world of emperors, talking meant nothing, strength was all that mattered. People from Celestial Qi Castle, the Palace of Medicinal Kings, and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness tried to kill my disciple, Lin Feng. They resorted to various methods to bully him. Now, if we want to settle accounts with them, we can, said Emperor Shen Yu. You have a high status within Qingdi Mountain and you wanted to kill my disciple. You even asked people from the 9 great celestial castles to kill him. Ni Chen, I hope you have a good excuse, otherwise, things will get far worse for you. The strong cultivators from Qingdi Mountain looked furious. Shen Yu was threatening them. He was telling them that Yaoyi Island had the right to attack Qingdi Mountain if they wanted to. At that moment, Qi Yunlei rose up in the air and flew next to Emperor Ni Chen. Then he said to Shen Yu, do you want to know who tried to capture Lin Feng? Shen Yu frowned and asked, did anyone else get involved? I'm from the Everlasting Palace, said Qi Yunlei in a cold way. Everlasting Palace? Lin Feng's eyes flashed with insight for a second. He remembered that Qi Yunlei had shouted that they couldn't kill Lin Feng after Emperor Dong tried to kill him. He hadn't thought that the Everlasting Palace would want to capture him. It's him, the great emperor in cyan clothes. Lin Feng remembered. There was only one reason. The great emperor in cyan clothes had realized that the everlasting celestial emperor had probably transmitted his knowledge to Lin Feng, so he had ordered the everlasting palace to capture Lin Feng. That was the only reason why Qi Yunlei wanted to capture him alive. Shen Yu, do you know what you're doing? Asked Ni Chen. So it's the everlasting palace. Hu Yu slowly walked to Qi Yunlei and smiled. Suddenly her red robe fluttered in the wind as she flew forwards with incredible speed. Qi Yunlei wanted to dodge, but Hu Yu managed to grab him. Break, shouted Qi Yunlei, furiously releasing sharp sword cosmic energies. Can you break free though? Said Hu Yu smiling. Qi Yunlei could feel his blood dripping down his side. In a flash, he lost an arm. No, what are you doing? Qi Yunlei looked terrified. She was modifying his blood. I want your flesh and blood. She suddenly threw Qi Yunlei to the ground violently. Qi Yunlei couldn't fight back as his blood was strangely changing. I'm from the everlasting palace, shouted Qi Yunlei. However, Hu Yu just smiled and looked at him. The everlasting palace doesn't want someone whose cultivation has been crippled. What are you doing? Qi Yunlei stammered. Hu Yu's smile invoked a primal fear in him. His flesh was falling apart, and his blood was rotting. His veins started breaking apart too. She was going to cripple his cultivation. Master, no, Qi Yunlei finally realized what was going on. Am I that old? You should call me Queen, said Hu Yu giggling. Queen, let me go. Qi Yunlei begged her. He knew that if she crippled his cultivation, neither the everlasting palace nor celestial Qi castle would want him anymore. That'd be a fate worse than death. I didn't think the everlasting palace could have such trash, said Hu Yu. The other cultivators from Qingdi Mountain and celestial Qi castle looked terrified. Ni Chen hadn't thought the cultivators from Yaoyi Island could be so insane. Qi Yunlei even said that he was from the everlasting palace, but Hu Yu still didn't care. Shen Yu didn't even frown, he just looked at Ni Chen and said, how could the everlasting palace have such trash? I think he was bluffing, he must have only been a cultivator from Celestial Chi Castle. You're only humiliating the Everlasting Palace by saying that. Besides, even if you were from the Everlasting Palace, so what? Since when has Qingdi Mountain been a subgroup of the Everlasting Palace? We are not a subgroup of any other group, said Ni Chen in a cold way. Since you're not a subgroup of the Everlasting Palace, why would you want to capture Lin Feng? It's the Everlasting Palace who wants to capture Lin Feng. Are you trying to rise by helping the Everlasting Palace capture disciples from Yao Yi Island? Said Shen Yu. Now, people from Celestial Chi Castle, piss off. It's between Qingdi Mountain and Yao Yi Island, of course, if you want to help Qingdi Mountain, I don't mind. After Shen Yu said that, the wind beast started blowing insanely towards the people from Qingdi Mountain. Where are all the leaders of the 9 great celestial castles? Have they disappeared? Shouted Ni Chen. People from the 9 great celestial castles looked scared. If the leaders of the 9 great celestial castles helped fight against Yao Yi Island, they could oppress them. However, who was willing to offend Yao Yi Island? If they didn't come though, then Qingdi Mountain would be offended. They had a dilemma, but the choice was obvious. Even if they offended Qingdi Mountain, it was less concerning because they lived in the same territory. Qingdi Mountain might reproach them, but they couldn't annihilate them. However, if they offended Yao Yi Island, those beasts would attack them, leaving no survivors. Celestial Chi Castle was already gone. They didn't understand why Yao Yi Island was doing so much for Lin Feng, but they weren't going to stick around to find out. If Emperor Shen Yu was the only one, that wouldn't have been a problem, but so many cultivators had come for him. Shen Yu, do you really want to start a war between Qingdi Mountain and Yao Yi Island? Asked Emperor Ni Chen. Ni Chen, don't think too highly of yourself. Maybe you're the only one involved, or perhaps Qingdi Mountain is involved. But since you attacked our disciple, we are not afraid of anything. Now, those from Qingdi Mountain who had attempted to kill our disciple must die. Said Shen Yu. Arg, the gigantic ape jumped, making the ground explode beneath him. His gigantic hand descended from the sky. We'll remember this, shouted Emperor Ni Chen. Then, he rose up in the air with someone and their silhouettes flickered. The wind beast wanted to chase them, but Shen Yu said, forget it, Ni Chen controls empty space and gold cosmic energies, he's too fast and strong. Even if we catch up with him, we can't kill him. Let him go. We'll just kill all of Qingdi Mountain's cultivators who are still here. Brother Feng, let's have some fun too, said Hu Yu to Lin Feng. Suddenly, she landed in front of an emperor from Qingdi Mountain, stretched out her slender white hand, and blood appeared. The emperor sensed he was losing control over his blood, just like the other emperor. Suddenly, he looked horrified. Brother Feng, forget about me being so brutal, said Hu Yu smiling gently. Blood continued splashing around her until the emperor turned into a rotten corpse and died. That's what happens when there's a huge difference between cultivation levels, thought Lin Feng. After breaking through to the Huang Qi layer, Lin Feng would also understand that even at the same level, there could still be gigantic differences between cultivators. That was already the case for him with people of the same level. People from Celestial Chi Castle, who were now in the distance, looked terrified. Yao Yi Island didn't fear fighting Qingdi Mountain. It's better to offend Qingdi Mountain and not Yao Yi Island, they reminded themselves. The 9 castles considered Qingdi Mountain's cultivators strong, but against cultivators from Yao Yi Island, they seemed so weak. Chapter 1614, Breaking the Seals amongst people Emperor Ni Chen had brought from Qiding Mountain, some of them managed to escape, such as Qi Yu Chen who had left with Celestial Qi Castle. He wasn't only a cultivator from Qingdi Mountain, he was originally from Celestial Qi Castle. Besides, he was a Zun cultivator, so Emperor Ni Chen wouldn't blame him. Emperors from Yao Yi Island, you said it was between Lin Feng and Celestial Qi Castle, but he offended us first, said Qi Yun Xiao politely. Who the hell do you think you are to talk to us like that? yelled Shinyu. No one from Celestial Chi Castle could say anything to Yao Yi Island as they belonged to two completely different worlds. They were acting ridiculous. Qi Yun Zhao's body felt completely rigid as he realized his mistake. Lin Feng, what do you think? Asked Shinyu. Lin Feng was thinking, Yao Yi Island had already offended Qingdi Mountain, and now if they offended the 9 great celestial castles, things would get even more serious. After all, if Yao Yi Island attacked Celestial Chi Castle, the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and the Palace of Medicinal Kings would also get involved. 3 large groups like that might oppress Yao Yi Island. Besides, Lin Feng also understood that Yao Yi Island wasn't his group, and it wasn't Shinyu's group either. Sometimes he had to rely on himself. You can't get involved, Celestial Chi Castle and the Palace of Medicinal Kings are my enemies, said Lin Feng. Though, I want one person to die. Qi Yun Xiao and the others all looked upset when they realized who he was talking about. They glanced at Master Mi. Oh no, Master Mi can't die. Master Mi had an incredible status within Celestial Chi Castle. He controlled a large number of their forces, so who knew what would happen if he died? Even if you kill me, your friends will never break free from my seal, never, said Master Mi. He was wearing a mask, but Lin Feng knew he was looking at him. So, what should I do then? Asked Lin Feng. If you don't kill me, I'll break their seals myself, said Master Mi. Lin Feng smiled in a cold way. He had been waiting for this for a long time. Even if they didn't attack Celestial Chi Castle, Yuan Fei and the others had to be released. Bring them here and break their seals in front of me, said Lin Feng. Alright, I'll have them come over. Master Mi closed his eyes and called them. He was connected to them through their minds thanks to the seals. After a short time, a medium-level emperor brought Yuan Fei and the others over. You better think carefully and not leave anything dodgy in their brains, said Hu Yu smiling devilishly. Master Mi nodded as he landed in front of Yuan Fei. Then a light penetrated Yuan Fei's godly awareness. Master Mi knew that even high-level emperors couldn't break those seals, he was the only one who knew the code. With that, Master Mi slowly broke the seal. Oh. Arg, Yuan Fei shouted furiously, looking insane. He was fixedly staring at Master Mi. Suddenly, he raised his fist and punched the air in Master Mi's direction. He had come back to his senses and immediately started swinging. Stop, shouted Master Mi, blocking Yuan Fei's attack. I broke your seal, so now you're free. Yuan Fei glared at him for a moment, then he recalled his chi. Arg, another shout sounded. A silhouette rose up in the air and shouted, Yuan Fei. Lin Feng turned around and noticed someone, then he looked delighted. It was the Great Ape Emperor. He had been staying in the region, but he wasn't strong enough to save Yuan Fei. When he saw that Yuan Fei was freed, he showed up again, this time he was so happy. Arg, the stone ape shouted furiously, Yuan Fei was an ape like him. In Yao Yi Island, there were many apes. He was a stone ape, then there was the great earth demon ape. But they didn't know what kind of ape Yuan Fei was yet. The apes gathered and smiled. Then, the great ape emperor and Yuan Fei walked over to Lin Feng. Lin Feng, thank you, said the great ape emperor. He looked at Xin Yu and the others and said, thank you, masters. I wouldn't have thought that you'd be the same type as me. Yao Yi Island is a good place for you. Apart from the stone ape, there's also a great earth demon ape, so you won't feel lonely, said Xin Yu smiling. Yao Yi Island, the great ape emperor looked happy and nodded, thank you master for accepting us. There are millions of islands in Yao Yi Island, all of them filled with different animals. There's no need to thank me, I'm just accepting one of my own, said Xin Yu. Master Mi also broke Ban Roa and the others' seals. Ban Roa and the others came back to their senses looking very upset. They had been controlled for quite a while, their heads were heavy, and they felt guilty. Luckily, Lin Feng was a true friend. Are you alright? Asked Lin Feng to Ban Roa and the others. They all bumped fists and smiled happily. You should be thankful, Celestial Qi Castle took care of you and they even healed Xing Zhan's leg. Don't worry about the rest. Indeed, we are grateful, said Xing Zhan smiling. Without Celestial Qi Castle, his leg wouldn't have been healed as it was now. Besides, they had become stronger during that time. Celestial Qi Castle had them practice constantly. Lin Feng, should we settle accounts with the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and the Palace of Medicinal Kings? Asked Shen Yu to Lin Feng. Uncle Yu, let's go back to Yao Yi Island, said Lin Feng. He didn't intend to fight against them now. If he had the choice, he would have done everything without Yao Yi Island. Because of him, Yao Yi Island had already offended Qingdi Mountain and there was an even more dangerous group, the Everlasting Palace, to worry about. Apart from Qi Yunlei, nobody else from the Everlasting Palace had appeared yet. Lin Feng figured that Qi Yunlei probably wanted to capture Lin Feng alone and then go back to the Everlasting Palace to improve his status. Lin Feng also thought that Qi Yunlei didn't know that Lin Feng knew the 1,000 great deployment spells, otherwise, the great emperor in cyan clothes wouldn't have let a stupid cultivator like Qi Yunlei try to capture him. Alright, said Shen Yu nodding. Then, he raised his hands as to tell everyone that they were going back. Arg, the stone ape shouted at the people from Celestial Qi Castle. He attacked in their direction again, then he turned around and left. His steps made extremely loud sounds, causing the ground to shake. Everybody ran away, and nobody prevented them from passing. Lin Feng, how did you end up in such a situation? Asked Shen Yu to Lin Feng, now they were on the back of the wind beast. I hadn't thought that a disciple from Celestial Qi Castle, who was also a member of the Everlasting Palace, would come back and uncover my real identity. You should tell me when you're doing such things, then you won't have to take such risks. Lin Feng smiled wryly and shook his head. He had problems with the 9 great celestial castles, but those things had nothing to do with Yao Yi Island, and he wanted it to stay that way if he could help it. Even if he had known that Qingdi Mountain would get involved, he still wouldn't have told Emperor Shen Yu. Lin Feng. Someone rose in the air next to him. Lin Feng smiled and said to the wind beast, Uncle Feng, that's my friend. Let him come. The wind beast slowed down and allowed Mui to jump on his back. He smiled at Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, we're safe. Thank you Master Mui for helping me. They could have killed me before if you hadn't helped. I wouldn't have had time to inform Yao Yi Island then, said Lin Feng smiling. Master Mui, come with me to Yao Yi Island. We can continue studying deployment spells there. Mui glanced at Shen Yu, and Shen Yu looked at him and said, Lin Feng's friends are also friends of Yao Yi Island. Thank you, Master. I'm alone so I will try not to disturb too much, said Mui. He was happy to go to Yao Yi Island. Chapter 16:15. Suddenly leaving back in Yao Yi Island, in a field full of medicinal herbs, there was a beautiful girl wearing white clothes. She was helping farm some plants. Suddenly, she sensed something. She raised her head and gazed into the distance and saw many people, including Lin Feng. Mu Yun rose up in the air, she smiled at Lin Feng and said, When did you come back? We just came back. I brought you some medicinal herbs, I hope they help, said Lin Feng. He had put the herbs he stole from the Palace of Medicinal Kings into a ring, but because he didn't understand herbs at all, he gave them to Mu Yun. Thank you, replied Mu Yun, smiling in a gentle way as she took the ring. I have to go and see a few emperors. Take care, Yun, said Lin Feng. He didn't want to spend too much time there. Then Mu Yun watched as Lin Feng and the others disappeared. Her mouth twitched like she wanted to say something, but she didn't manage to, instead she just smiled. Lin Feng went to an island which wasn't that far away. Buddy, shouted Lin Feng. His voice was so loud that the sound waves blew back all the surrounding trees and water. Immediately after, a gigantic demon ape appeared, it was the great earth demon ape. He smiled after he saw Lin Feng and said, "Did you come to get hurt again?" "You couldn't hurt me 3 years ago already," replied Lin Feng smiling. The great earth demon ape was terrifyingly strong, but Lin Feng was too fast. "I brought some friends, I hope you can teach them some things," said Lin Feng smiling. "Arg!" the great earth demon ape and Yuan Fei shouted, turning themselves into gigantic apes. The great earth demon ape was surprised and smiled, "All right, they can stay with me." "And there's someone else," said Lin Feng. Then Xing Zhan turned into a beast too. A horned battle beast. The great earth demon ape looked at him and said, "It's the first time I've seen one, their only purpose in life is battle. I can't wait to see how strong he is." "They can stay with you for now, and if you have the time, take them to some of the other emperors," said Lin Feng smiling. Then, his silhouette flickered, Ban Ruo and Li Hen left with him too. Yuan Fei and Xing Zhan were beasts, so the great earth demon ape was a perfect teacher for them. Ban Ruo and Li Hen were different. Ban Ruo was a Buddhist cultivator, so Lin Feng still didn't know which beast was the best teacher for him. Li Hen was a singer, controlling soundwave and illusion abstruse energies. Lin Feng already knew who to take him to. Lin Feng had spent years in Yaoyi Island, so he knew more than most how helpful the beast emperors were. He hoped his friends could stay there to study cultivation, one day breaking through to the Huang Qi layer. After a short time, Lin Feng landed on another island. This time he was looking for Hu Yu. "Sister Hu Yu, I would like to ask you something." Hu Yu was an empress and she was very familiar with the islands. Back then, she had taken him to many places, so maybe she could do the same with Ban Ruo and Li Hen. "Bro, why are you so polite?" asked Hu Yu smiling. She put her arm around Lin Feng's shoulders, making them look like a couple. Lin Feng was used to her behavior, but he still smiled wryly. "I have 2 friends whom I'm hoping you can help. You know so many emperors in Yaoyi Island, so you can guide them yourself," said Hu Yu, caressing Lin Feng's face. "Tell me, do you want to leave Yaoyi Island?" Lin Feng nodded. "You want to get away from me, you and your little girlfriend," said Hu Yu angrily. Lin Feng suddenly felt awkward. "Sis, Yun and I are just friends. Concerning you, I don't want to leave you, but after what happened with the 9 great celestial castles, I'm worried about the everlasting palace," said Lin Feng. "Little boy, do you need my help?" asked Hu Yu to Lin Feng. The everlasting palace was a terrifying group. They wouldn't attack Yaoyi Island because they were a great imperial force. However, it seemed like the everlasting palace wanted to capture Lin Feng beyond reason. "Sis, I've been to the great imperial everlasting palace and I saw the everlasting celestial emperor as well as the new great emperor of the everlasting palace. He thinks I received the teachings of the great imperial everlasting palace," said Lin Feng to Hu Yu. She fixedly stared at him and said, "Darling, this is something very serious, so tell me the truth. Did you get his transmissions?" Lin Feng nodded, leaving Hu Yu speechless for a moment. "Let's go. We have to leave Yaoyi Island immediately," said Hu Yu. She wouldn't have thought that Lin Feng would be involved in such things. "Sis, what about Yaoyi Island?" asked Lin Feng. He was worried about them. "Don't worry. After you leave, we'll just say you left and that we know nothing. Even if people from the everlasting palace come, they can't do anything against us because we're a great imperial force. Especially considering our leader is not an ordinary beast." Hu Yu grabbed Lin Feng's hand and started flying away. If the great emperor from the everlasting palace came, it would be very difficult to protect Lin Feng. "No need to rush. I haven't even talked to Uncle Yu yet," said Lin Feng smiling wryly. He initially wanted to stay in Yaoyi Island for a few more days. After all, the everlasting palace was extremely far, so they'd need some time to get to Yaoyi. "Why would you need to talk to him?" "I can talk to him for you," said Hu Yu while dragging Lin Feng. Li Hen and Ban Ruo were surprised, so she smiled and said, "You two can wait for me." Lin Feng, they were happy to be with Lin Feng but now he had to leave again. Ban Ruo, Li Hen, practice cultivation seriously. One day we'll recreate Tiantai in the great world. By the way, Wuxia is in Sword Mountain. Lin Feng managed to say all that before Hu Yu dragged him away. We will, whispered Ban Ruo and Li Hen. They would practice cultivation like their lives depended on it. Hu Yu and Lin Feng soon landed on a mountain. Mui was there too. Master Mui, I need to leave Yaoyi Island. Are you coming with me or are you staying? Asked Lin Feng. Mui was surprised. Lin Feng wanted to leave already. Master Mui, I think you should come with me actually. Back then, Qi Yunlei said the everlasting palace was looking for me, but maybe the great emperor in the cyan clothes is looking for everyone who had been in the caves in the great palace. It's not safe for us to stay in Yaoyi Island. That's why Sister Hu Yu wants me to leave immediately. Lin Feng didn't tell Mui everything. He had known Hu Yu for 5 years already, so she knew a lot about him, and she was a beast. Beasts weren't interested in deployment spells. Even though Lin Feng and Mui got along well, the everlasting celestial emperor's teachings could make anyone go insane, especially someone who loved deployment spells. Therefore, Lin Feng had decided to keep all this a secret. The everlasting palace is getting involved, said Mui surprised, then he added, all right, I'll come with you. I'm happy to have a friend. Let's go. Hu Yu dragged Lin Feng away. They tried not to draw people's attention as they flew away. A few hours later, Lin Feng and Hu Yu arrived at the periphery of the islands, an extremely vast area. Brother Feng, you can leave from here. If you're in danger, you know how to reach me, said Hu Yu, smiling at him. He nodded and smiled, Sister Hu Yu, take care. I'm going to miss you. Come back and see me sometime, said Hua Yu, and then she left. I will, whispered Lin Feng. Lin Feng, where do you want to go? Asked Mui to Lin Feng. Lin Feng shook his head and said, I come from a small world, so I'm not familiar with the great world. I haven't been to many places, and I'm only a cultivator of the 8th Zun Qi layer. I need to travel to break through to the Huang Qi layer. Alright, let's leave this place and we'll find a place for you to break through to the 9th Zun Qi layer, said Mui. Lin Feng was already at the top of the 8th Zun Qi layer, so he still needed to focus on reaching the 9th Zun Qi layer. After you break through to the 9th Zun Qi layer, I'll take you to another place which should be suitable for you, said Mui smiling. Chapter 16:16, Beast of the Night. After Hu Yu left, she gazed into the distance where she saw a light appear before. It was a lot faster than her. She wanted to take Lin Feng even farther, but she saw that light and had decided to go back. I wonder if those are people from the everlasting palace. If they are very fast, thought Hu Yu. As Hu Yu thought, there was only one person and that person landed on Yaoyi Island. Yaoyi Island, that person's eyebrows looked like swords. He was wearing a simple robe, and he looked ordinary, but his eyes were as dazzling as stars. He released his godly awareness and inspected the area, every single inch of the area, but he didn't say anything. If someone noticed his presence, then he'd talk. He inspected the area, and several beasts sensed someone was looking at them, but didn't act out about it. Yaoyi Island was an animal's world, so even a strong cultivator like him could only glance around for a bit. After some time, he frowned, and his silhouette flickered away. After Hu Yu went back, she landed at the top of a mountain. Her red robe was fluttering in the wind as a light passed in front of her, intriguing her. She was right, it was a strong cultivator from the everlasting palace. Maybe other people didn't know, but she did. She completely understood what was going on. If she hadn't taken Lin Feng away just a second before, the situation would have been tragic for him. Hu Yu went to Xin Yu and asked him, using telepathy, did you sense that someone was spying on us? Xin Yu looked at her and said, I did, but I noticed that he wasn't doing anything, so I didn't pay attention. It might be someone from the everlasting palace, said Hu Yu. Xin Yu frowned nervously. Don't be nervous, I already took Lin Feng away. He's far away in the middle of the sea. Even if that person is extremely strong, he can't possibly find someone that far, said Huyu, still using telepathy. But if he doesn't find anyone, he might ask us to hand him over. If that happens, we must remain calm and courteous. When Xinyu saw Huyu smile, he nodded, I know what you mean. We have to observe and be patient. As expected, the strong cultivator spent a lot of time looking for Lin Feng on Yaoyi Island, but he didn't find him. He rose up in the air and noted the spectacular landscape. He then flew above the clouds. The beasts heard something, so they raised their heads and looked towards that guy. Someone really is spying on us, thought the beasts furiously. They felt that person was extremely strong though. Qingdi Mountain is helping the Everlasting Palace, otherwise, the Everlasting Palace wouldn't have come that fast, thought Xinyu. Who crippled my disciples' cultivation in the 9 great celestial castles, shouted that strong cultivator. His voice resonated throughout the entire region. Xinyu and Huyu glanced at each other, then they rose up in the air. You two did it, asked the strong cultivator looking at Xinyu and Huyu in a cold way. Master, I did cripple someone's cultivation in the 9 great celestial castles, but that person wanted to capture one of my disciples, a cultivator of the Zun Qi layer. I thought that the Everlasting Palace couldn't possibly send a medium-level emperor to capture a Zun cultivator. I thought they were only humiliating the Everlasting Palace, so I crippled his cultivation. Don't blame me, said Huyu politely. Where's the cultivator of the Zun Qi layer? Asked the strong cultivator straightforwardly. He didn't really care about Qi Yunlei, his goal was actually Lin Feng. Master, after we came back to Yaoyi Island, he left. I don't know why. I asked him, and he said he wanted to travel to gather experiences and become stronger. We don't know where he went either. Master, why are you looking for a Zun cultivator? Did anything happen? Maybe we can help you, said Huyu in a calm and innocent way. However, the strong cultivator released energies which oppressed Huyu. Release your godly awareness and show me your memories, said the strong cultivator. He didn't believe her, and this matter was too serious. Master, even though I'm a beast, I'm also a woman. I have many secrets, so you can't inspect my memories, said Huyu. She suddenly looked very angry. Stop, yelled the strong cultivator. He released his godly awareness, wanting to forcefully inspect Huyu's memories. However, at that moment, the sky became pitch black. That strong cultivator frowned and glanced around. He couldn't see anything but darkness. Bestial night, said the strong cultivator from the Everlasting Palace. You think you can inspect my people's memories as you wish, said a voice which seemed to come from the darkness. Her memories contain clues about someone we're looking for, it's important for the Everlasting Palace. If you inspect her memories, let me inspect yours as well, said the voice. The strong cultivator looked angry. He was a great emperor, so how could he let someone inspect his memories? Everybody had secrets, and he was no exception. Since you know that nobody wants to let anybody else check their memories, why do you think you can inspect my people's memories? She told you the person you're looking for is not here. So I came here for nothing. You can choose to stay here too, but you can't touch any of my people, said the voice in darkness. The strong cultivator from the Everlasting Palace looked furious. His Highness the Beast of the Night was an unfathomable cultivator. Very few people had ever seen his real body. Almost nobody even knew what kind of beast he was, and in general, people feared him. The Everlasting Palace wants that person. If you find him here, then you can take him with you. I'm giving the Everlasting Palace face, but if you can't find him, then the Everlasting Palace must give me face too by not touching my people. The same applies to the leader of the Everlasting Palace, otherwise, you'll have to bear the responsibility for your actions, said the voice in the darkness aggressively. Then, the darkness slowly dispersed, and the sun reappeared. All right, I'll spend some time here then, said the strong cultivator in a cold way. He was a great emperor, so he could practice cultivation anywhere. He could even spend years there if he wanted to, so he wanted to see if Lin Feng would come back eventually. Hu Yu took a deep breath. She was amazed. His Highness the Beast of the Night was terrifyingly strong. He could solve any problem it seemed, and on top of that, it seemed that His Highness the Beast of the Night also knew about Lin Feng. Lin Feng and Mui were traveling already, so they had no idea about what was going on there, but at least the Great Emperor didn't know where they were. Chapter 16-17, Goldfire City. 3 months later, very far away from Yaoyi Island, Demon Chi was dashing to the sky from a cave in a mountain range. Boom, boom, boom. Everything around that cave was quaking, even small pieces of stones exploded. Mui was at the top of a precipice, fixedly staring at the cave in the distance. He was surprised by how powerful that Demon Chi was. He had seen Lin Feng fight with talismans, but he had never really seen how Lin Feng battled. Bang! Another sound resounded through the mountain chain. Even more terrifying Demon Chi rose up to the skies, condensing into clouds. Ninth Zun Chi layer, what a terrifying and aggressive demonic energy, thought Mui. A demon-like silhouette rose up in the sky, his eyes were pitch black, and his long black hair was messy. Lin Feng looked like a demon god. Ninth Zun Chi layer, and soon, I'll become a demon emperor, thought Lin Feng, remembering all the emperor statues. He was getting closer and closer to breaking through to the Huang Chi layer. If he were still in the small world, people would admire him. Lin Feng inhaled and exhaled demon chi for a little while, then he recalled his demon chi, and his eyes progressively became normal again. Finally, he turned into a handsome young man again. He landed in front of Mui and smiled happily. Uncle Mui, sorry to have kept you waiting. It's only been about 2 months, I guess. It's not that long, said Mui smiling. For a medium-level emperor, a few months were nothing. Let's not waste time, we continue onwards. How far are we from Goldfire City? Asked Lin Feng to Mui. Mui initially wanted to take him to Goldfire City, which was a gigantic city. It was a lot larger than all of the 9 great celestial castles together. We're not that far from it, only 3 days of traveling left. Lin Feng, once we get to Goldfire City, maybe then you will realize how vast that world really is. You will see how magnificent and splendid the city is as well. That city is famous for its weapon manufacturers and its weapon manufacturing groups. Mui and Lin Feng then left. Lin Feng was smiling. The city of weapon manufacturers. He had never heard of such groups in the small world. Uncle Mui, back then, when you saved me, you used a weapon talisman. Was that a talisman from a powerful group in Goldfire City? Asked Lin Feng. Indeed, however, Goldfire City is gigantic and has many such groups. It's divided into 4 parts, east, south, west, and north. Each district has bigger and smaller weapon manufacturing groups. There are probably hundreds of large ones. If you also count the smaller groups and individual manufacturers, then it's probably impossible to know exactly how many there are. However, for a few reasons, I got expelled from such a group a long time ago. That's why I just used the talisman to scare Emperor Ni Chen. I couldn't do much more than that, explained Mui, smiling and shrugging. If Emperor Ni Chen had known about that, he might have regretted. I see, you study deployment spells for weapons. That's surprising, said Lin Feng smiling. Besides, you are a medium-level emperor and surprisingly, you got expelled from your group. Are there very powerful groups in Goldfire City then? Just a little stronger than the 9 great celestial castles, but everyone here are experts at manufacturing weapons. You won't find any great emperor here, because after a weapon manufacturer becomes a great emperor, they immediately leave town. Everyone respects great emperors, so even if some people become great emperors in Goldfire City, they usually go abroad to become stronger, explained Mui. Concerning deployment spells, I do study them for weapons. Lin Feng, do you know what a cultivator needs to know to become a weapon manufacturer? Deployment spells, fire, soul strength and materials. You're right. That's where the name of this city comes from, Goldfire City. Fire to fabricate weapons and gold is a great material to fabricate weapons. Fire and materials constitute the environment, they are necessary elements, however, a powerful soul and a powerful deployment spells make a huge difference. The most difficult part is the deployment spell. Without a powerful deployment spell, you can't make a powerful weapon. Mui continued. Alchemists and weapon manufacturers had a similar range of knowledge, but weapon manufacturers had to understand deployment spells better than alchemists. Uncle Mui, why did you take me to Goldfire City? Because of their weapons? Asked Lin Feng. Mui knew how good Lin Feng was at using deployment spells. If you're interested, you can try and study how to fabricate weapons. Maybe it could be beneficial for you, said Mui smiling. It seemed that Mui had planned things out for Lin Feng, but Lin Feng didn't mind. He was interested in everything and studying the arts of weapon manufacturing was interesting. They both walked and chatted. Lin Feng understood weapons a little bit better after Mui finished explaining everything to him. It seemed that many groups in Goldfire City were great imperial forces, and it also seemed that many influential groups were connected to those weapon manufacturing groups. 3 days later, they finally made it to the gigantic city. We're here, said Mui, smiling at Lin Feng. Goldfire City was different from the 9 great celestial castles. People here are free to move as they wished. Mui and Lin Feng first went to the city center. They didn't fly, they simply walked on the vast streets. There were many street vendors on the sidewalks, reminding Lin Feng of his previous life. However, in Goldfire City, those street vendors sold weapons. Goldfire City is also a gigantic open market where people trade weapons. Many people have traveled a long way to come here to find materials. You can even buy fire here. Mui smiled wryly. In the great world, people could buy almost anything, even fire. Do you want to see documents and resources concerning weapon fabrication? Asked Mui. Where? Asked Lin Feng. Let's go. I'll show you some stuff, said Mui smiling. He took Lin Feng to a pavilion and found some bookshelves with very ancient books resting on it. Officials' documents, instruction manuals, and so on. There were stickers everywhere to help people find the resources they needed. Introduction to Weapon Manufacturing. Lin Feng noticed a book, so he stopped and started leafing through it. The book dealt with new technologies and the levels of weapon manufacturers. People who can fabricate holy weapons can't be called masters. They can only be called amateurs. Lin Feng was stupefied. In the small world, holy weapons were considered great weapons. There are various levels of imperial weapons, and those who can fabricate level 1 imperial weapons are called level 1 professors. Those who can fabricate level 9 weapons are called level 9 professors. Only those who are level 6 professors and above can be called weapon manufacturing masters. Finally, only those who can fabricate great imperial weapons can be called great scholastic masters of weapon manufacturing arts. Lin Feng gasped with amazement. He learned a lot from reading that book. Chapter 1618, Mui's request. Mui was reading an ancient book next to Lin Feng, from time to time, glancing at Lin Feng. Uncle Mui, are there any great scholastic masters of weapon manufacturing arts in Goldfire City? Asked Lin Feng. From what I know, there should be one, said Mui smiling. A great scholastic masters of weapon manufacturing arts had a very, very high success rate when manufacturing level 8 and 9 imperial weapons. They could easily create terrifying armies all on their own. Lin Feng nodded and continued reading. Someone next to Lin Feng was reading a book, but when he saw what kind of book Lin Feng was reading, he looked at him mockingly. Lin Feng was probably a beginner in the arts of weapon manufacturing because nobody would read such books. But Lin Feng didn't care about what people thought of him. He released his godly awareness and inspected some official documents. He was just skimming them though. After some time in the pavilion, he already knew all the basics. Uncle Mui, let's leave, said Lin Feng to Mui. Mui nodded, but when they reached the exit, Mui had to give the guard a few abstruse tablets. After all, nothing was free in that world. There are always foreigners stopping here, and since so many people come, the price is not too high. The people who manage those libraries must make a lot of money, said Mui to Lin Feng. So, what do you think? Are you interested in weapon fabrication or not? Asked Mui smiling. I am a bit interested, but I think it could only be a hobby at best for me. If I want to have a high level in weapon fabrication, would need to spend a lot of time and energy on it. I don't think it's something suitable for me, explained Lin Feng honestly. I think so too, said Mui smiling. Then he continued, in the world of cultivation, no matter whether you're an alchemist or a weapon manufacturer, there's only one goal: become stronger. People fabricate weapons to become stronger, however, it always requires time. That's why most strong cultivators only want to practice cultivation. However, you're not even 30 yet and you're still carving out your own path in the great world. You must remember that in the great world, many people break through to the Xian Qi layer shortly after their birth. However, even in the great world, getting close to breaking through to the Huang Qi layer before 30 is something exceptional already. With your talent and your understanding of deployment spells, you don't really need weapons. We'll see, maybe someday I'll study weapon fabrication and immediately become a great scholastic master of weapon manufacturing arts, said Lin Feng jokingly. Lin Feng, this time I took you to Goldfire City because I have something in mind, said Mui, gazing into the distance. He seemed pensive. Uncle Mui, you saved my life a few times, so you can tell me what you want, and I'll do my best to help, said Lin Feng. Maybe it had something to do with Mui having been expelled from his group. I would like you to approach someone, said Mui. He seemed moved that Lin Feng wanted to help him. Approach someone? Indeed, my clan. I'm from the Mu clan from the northern part of Goldfire City. It's a very powerful weapon manufacturing clan, and there's a very talented young disciple who is an expert at fabricating weapons, Mu Lin Shui. She's one of the most talented young people there. She has broken through to the 9th Zun Qi layer, she's an expert at using fire, and has a powerful soul strength. I hope you can get close to her, said Mui honestly. Lin Feng looked skeptical and asked, Uncle Mui, may I ask you what your relationship with Mu Lin Shui is? She's my daughter, said Mui. Eh. Lin Feng looked surprised. Mui had a daughter. And why had he been expelled from the clan? You have to ask her why I got expelled. My daughter is very talented and she's a good cultivator. She will soon become stronger than me, but the leader of the clan wants to control my daughter's future, said Mui, smiling wryly. Uncle Mui, why do you want me to approach Mu Lin Shui though? Asked Lin Feng. He still didn't understand. It has something to do with a grand meeting that will happen in half a year. After you get close to Lin Shui, you will know what I mean. I took you to Goldfire City for just this, I hope you don't think I'm selfish, said Mui, sounding embarrassed. He had saved Lin Feng from Emperor Ni Chen back then, so that Lin Feng could help him back. Uncle Mui, I will soon become an emperor. No matter where I am, I can become stronger, including Goldfire City. During my time here, I will get to know many weapon manufacturing masters and I will have a broader knowledge. I don't think that's so bad, said Lin Feng kindly. Thank you, Lin Feng. I'll take you to the Mu clan now, but don't tell her or anyone from the Mu clan that I told you to do this, said Mui. Then, Mui put on a mask Lin Feng had made him use in the 9 great celestial castles. Outside of the Mu clan's territory, there was a vast public square where there were big roads leading to various places. Nostalgia rushed over Mui as he looked at the familiar buildings. He didn't know how Lin Shui was doing since he left, perhaps she'd changed since then. Uncle Mui, how do I approach her? Asked Lin Feng smiling wryly. He didn't know her, so getting close to her was easier said than done. She looks proud, but on the inside, she's kind and gentle. If she has the feeling you're a good person, it should be easy to get close to her. Of course, if she hates someone, it's another story. If anything happens, just tell me, said Mui before leaving. Then he smiled and turned around, saying, Lin Feng, if you want to have some fun with my daughter, I don't mind either. Lin Feng smiled wryly. He hadn't thought about that. He missed Meng Qing and Yu Xian. But Lin Feng couldn't protect his wives in the great world if he didn't have the strength of the Huang Qi layer, so he still had to hide them. Lin Feng looked at the territory of the Mu clan. For some reason he had a headache. He was used to doing things for himself, and he didn't really feel like getting close to someone, but since Uncle Mui asked him for a favor, he'd do his best to help. At that moment, a group of young men and women came out from the Mu clan and frowned. What are you looking at? Asked a girl in green clothes. She had a furry white cloak which made her look heroic. She was also very beautiful. I find the Mu clan's territory to be majestic, replied Lin Feng. He had recalled his qi before, so now he looked like an ordinary cultivator at the top of the Zun qi layer. Even if that's true, don't just stand in front of the main gate, said the girl in a cold way. Then those people passed in front of Lin Feng and left. Lin Feng glanced at them one more time before he entered the Mu clan. He asked to a pedestrian, do you know that girl's name? The pedestrian smiled and whispered, brother, she's the jewel of the Mu clan, you can't fall in love with her. I won't, I'm just asking, said Lin Feng smiling. He figured that the pedestrian was easygoing. Hee, bro, I perfectly understand you, there's no need to justify yourself, said the pedestrian, tapping on Lin Feng's shoulders and smiling in a gentle way. Qingying, is that guy asking about you? Asked a young man who was smiling at Mu Qingying. Mu Qingying didn't reply, instead another young man smiled and said, in the northern part of the city, many men are interested in her. There's nothing surprising if he is. I'm just amused that some people overestimate themselves, said the one who had just talked before. Then, they left. Lin Feng heard them clearly, for they hadn't tried to act discreet, but he didn't care. He needed to learn more about Mu Lin Shui. Chapter 1619, Mu Clan's Guards. Brother, I'll tell you something. Lin Feng turned his head around, the pedestrian was still talking to him. Do you want to know something about Miss Qingying? Asked that person smiling. No, I want to know more about Mu Lin Shui. Do you know anything about her? Lin Feng shook his head. When the young man heard Lin Feng, he smiled in an even gentler way. His eyes were wide open as he said, brother, I think you shouldn't think about her too much. Miss Lin Shui is incredible. I have broken through to the 7th Zun Qi layer and you probably have the same level, but in front of Lin Shui, we're still nothing. I'm just asking, it's not like I'm having any perverted thoughts. Don't worry, bro, replied Lin Feng. Miss Lin Shui is the most beautiful girl of the Mu clan, she's only 20 years old and she's already a cultivator at the very top of the Zun Qi layer, and she's very talented at fabricating weapons. She can already create imperial weapons, which means she has become a level 1 professor, but she's studying deployment spells these days. She wants to become a level 2 professor, so she's getting ready for the big contest, that person explained slowly. Brother, she's a public figure and that's it to people like us. We can fantasize about her, but we stand no chance. Only the strongest young cultivators from the Yen clan can be a good match for her. I see, she must be incredible, said Lin Feng. He was impressed, being a cultivator at the very top of the Zun Qi layer before being 25 was amazing, but in the great world those things didn't seem as astonishing. Lin Feng had even heard of beasts which were born with the strength of the Tian Qi layer, they didn't even need to gather experience to become Zun-level beasts, which meant they could easily turn into humans if they wanted. However, he had also heard of some incredible beasts which started very weak, but given enough time, they were even more terrifying. This seemed to be a law of the universe. If people relied on their own strength and luck to become stronger, it would bring about better results than by relying on a powerful and rich family to take pills or solely relying on a blood heritage. Brother, what if I want to see Miss Lin Shui? What do I have to do? asked Lin Feng. That's difficult to say. Miss Lin Shui is studying deployment spells. Unless she comes out now, you'll have to wait to see her, replied that guy smiling. Of course, if someone takes you in, you might see her sooner. Let me in, asked Lin Feng. That was a good idea. Since he wanted to get close to her, he had to get into the buildings first. Thank you for helping me, said Lin Feng smiling. The guy smiled and shook his head. So you really want to get in? I can only wish you good luck. I'm off. After that guy left, Lin Feng didn't leave, instead he leant against a wall and closed his eyes. If anyone walked by, they'd probably assume he was asleep. Lin Feng finally opened his eyes after Mu Qinying and the others came back. Then, he approached Mu Qinying. Mu Qinying frowned when she saw Lin Feng. Was Lin Feng purposely preventing her from walking forwards? Miss Qinying, can you take me inside the Mu clan? Asked Lin Feng to Mu Qinying. The people next to her frowned and released qi. One of them even shouted, move away. Mu Qinying waved and said, for what reason? Lin Feng nodded. He moved back a few steps and then knelt. Then, he raised his hands and released fire strength. Mu Qinying didn't think Lin Feng wanted to attack her, so she continued walking and passed in front of him. But then a light caught her attention, making her turn her head back to see Lin Feng carving marks. Deployment spell. Mu Qinying seemed surprised. Lin Feng was still carving marks until holy marks formed. Then he shook his hand and fire emerged from the marks. Lin Feng raised his head and looked at Mu Qinying. Since you're so honest, you can become one of my guards. Come with me, said Mu Qinying, walking towards the governmental buildings. Lin Feng lowered his head and looked at the fire marks, smiling indifferently. Then he stood up and followed Mu Qinying. You're lucky, said one of the young men in a cold way. A small deployment spell made of only a few holy marks is nothing. In the Mu clan, just about anyone can become a guard. Lin Feng ignored him and continued to follow Mu Qinying. After entering the governmental buildings, his deployment marks outside became wider and wider. They looked mysterious, but unfortunately, Mu Qinying didn't have the patience to watch. In the governmental buildings of the Mu clan, Mu Qinying took Lin Feng to a courtyard. There, a cultivator of the 9th Zun Qi layer came to Mu Qinying and bowed, Miss Qinying. The Mu clan was a large clan, so there were many people who had a similar social status as Mu Qinying. Mu Xiao, that's my new guard, please arrange everything for him, said Mu Qinying to that person, then she continued walking. Mu Xiao nodded and smiled at Lin Feng, not bad, Miss Qinying hasn't recruited any new guards for a while. What's your name? Lin Feng. Lin Feng, this courtyard is only an outside one, but it's where her guards stay. I'm the leader of the guards, Mu Xiao. That path leads to the inner courtyard where the noble young men and women live. We are not allowed to go there without permission, you must remember that. Mu Xiao quickly explained to Lin Feng. I became a guard, thought Lin Feng speechlessly. He wouldn't have the opportunity to meet Lin Shui that way. Now he needed to improve his social status to see her. It seems like it'll take some time, thought Lin Feng. He didn't feel dispirited though, now that he was in the governmental buildings, his chances of meeting Lin Shui by chance were still higher. Mu Xiao found a place to live for Lin Feng. Even though they were Mu Qinying's guards, they had nothing to do if she didn't leave the clan's territory. With that free time, Lin Feng just practiced cultivation, sometimes he would chat with the other guards, trying to learn useful things from them. He quickly became acquainted with many of them. Besides, Lin Feng also found out that many of the guards were attracted to Mu Qinying, but nobody had confessed to her. Concerning Mu Lin Shui, they just said that she was way too incredible and that she didn't mix with people like them. Lin Feng had been in the governmental buildings for 10 days now, but he still hadn't seen Mu Lin Shui. He had seen Mu Qinying only a few times too. Lin Feng wasn't too surprised though, it was because the great tournament at Goldfire Tower would start in 6 months. Young men and women who were younger than 30 years old could participate, and if they did well, they could become disciples of the Goldfire Tower and would obtain even more weapon manufacturing techniques. According to legends, the Goldfire Tower had a great scholastic master of weapon manufacturing arts. Apart from the opportunity to become disciples of the Goldfire Tower, those who would rank amongst the best ones could also obtain incredible imperial weapons and powerful types of fire. Lin Feng still wondered why Mui had asked him to get close to Lin Shui. Was it because of the tournament? How could he help if so? Did he want Lin Feng to help Lin Shui learn deployment spells? Lin Feng was sunbathing in the courtyard and chatting with all the guards. It was relaxing, the guards were nice and didn't act arrogantly with him. Lin Feng preferred those kinds of people the most. Miss Qingying is here, said Mu Xiao. Everybody stood up and looked at her, sneaking glances at her stunning figure. It wasn't that surprising that they all fantasized about her. I have a deployment spell, try and carve it, said Mu Qingying, giving a book to Mu Xiao. Then, she looked at Lin Feng and said, I know you're interested in deployment spells, which is why I took you in as a guard, but don't relax too much. If in a few months, your deployment spells are like the one from the other day, then I'll fire you. The Mu clan doesn't work with pieces of trash, and that goes double for me. With that, Qingying turned around and left. Mu Xiao smiled at Lin Feng and said, Lin Feng, Miss Qingying asked me if you had asked us for help with your deployment spells, so I told her the truth. That's no problem, said Lin Feng smiling. Did he need them to teach him anything? Chapter 1620, Mu Lin Shui. Mu Xiao smiled apologetically and turned to everybody else. You all heard Miss Qingying, that book contains a deployment spell. Everybody can carve it into some talismans and I'll give them to Miss Qingying. Now, use your godly awareness to study the deployment spell. Brother Mu Xiao, is Miss Qingying going to choose one of us to help her? Asked one of the guards. Keep dreaming, even if Miss Qingying wanted to choose one of us to help her, it wouldn't be you. Brother Mu Xiao is much stronger than us when it comes to deployment spells, we can practically congratulate him already, said another one smiling. Indeed, Master Mu Xiao, you'll always be with Miss Qingying in the future. Everybody agreed. Although they were jealous, they were happy for him. Maybe Mu Xiao would make weapons with her soon, and then someday, they'd fall in love. Master Mu Xiao, if you marry Miss Qingying, your future will be incredible, said someone else jokingly. Behave yourselves, you rascals, shouted Mu Xiao, rolling his eyes. Everybody get over here and study the deployment spell. If you take this seriously, you all will have a chance. Mu Xiao gave the book to one of them, that guy looked excited and impatient. Everybody laughed once more before they turned their attention to the book, inspecting it with their godly awareness. Eventually, it was Lin Feng's turn. He inspected the book with his godly awareness and was surprised. That deployment spell wasn't as ordinary as he'd thought, it was quite powerful. When everybody finished inspected the book, Mu Xiao took it back and said, all right, don't waste time, you have 3 days to carve marks, and if you do well, then maybe Miss Qingying will be satisfied. Hee, Master Mu Xiao, you're daydreaming too much, said one of them jokingly, but then he turned around and left. Everybody left, but Lin Feng didn't hurry to leave. He was still enjoying the sun. Lin Feng, why are you not leaving? Asked Mu Xiao. Don't we have 3 days? There's no need to rush, said Lin Feng smiling. Lin Feng, you can't act like that. The more time you have, the better results you'll have. You should use all the allocated time, said Mu Xiao in a moralizing tone. Lin Feng glanced at Mu Xiao in a deep and meaningful way, thinking that Mu Xiao hadn't acted that way during the past few days. Lin Feng smiled on the inside. That deployment spell seemed very important to Mu Xiao, maybe the best one really would be chosen to stay with Miss Qingying. All right, I'll do my best, said Lin Feng nodding. Then he went to his room. The deployment spell was an offensive deployment spell, just like the shattering deployment spell. Thus, it wasn't very difficult for Lin Feng. He just had to cast a few small deployment spells and then they'd turn into a larger one. Lin Feng carved the spell in a short time, but he still waited the 3 days before coming out and handing over his talisman to Mu Xiao. Mu Xiao numbered the talismans and said, "I remember your numbers. If Miss Qingying likes your talisman, I'll tell you." "Master Mu Xiao, don't fool us, your talisman must be better than all of ours," said the crowd smiling. Mu Xiao then walked to the inner courtyards to give Miss Qingying the talismans. He's going to become rich. He'll stay with Miss Qingying all the time, and maybe they'll even share a room. Said someone smiling and looking at Mu Xiao. "Imagine if it happened though," said that person laughing. He glanced at Lin Feng and tapped his shoulder. "Lin Feng, I heard you begged Miss Qingying to allow you into the governmental buildings. How does it feel to know that Mu Xiao is going to end up with the woman of your dreams?" Lin Feng scratched his head and smiled. "I may be a little jealous." Everybody laughed. At that moment, Mu Xiao was already in the inner courtyard. He went to Miss Qingying and said, "Miss, here are the talismans, have a look." "Make them explode to show me how powerful they are," said Mu Xiao. "All right." Mu Xiao moved back and made them explode. Mu Qingying looked expressionless. Those people had made progress, but it was still far from being enough. Maybe Mu Xiao's talisman would be better though. Boom! At that moment, a terrifying fire dashed to the skies, looking like a fire dragon. Mu Qingying was very surprised. 9 dragons, the carvings are perfect. Mu Qingying was stupefied, and Mu Xiao was too. 9 dragons? How was that possible? That deployment spell. Mu Xiao, you've made progress. Now you can help me, said Mu Qingying to Mu Xiao, who had just come back to his senses. Mu Xiao frowned and looked at Mu Qingying. What's wrong? Asked Mu Qingying. Nothing, replied Mu Xiao. He had many thoughts when he looked at her. His heart was pounding as he said, "It's an honor for me to help you. All right, you can move into the inner courtyards with me and live in the room next to mine. I can call you any time that way," said Mu Qingying. Roger, Mississippi, said Mu Xiao nodding. He clenched his fists. There was still 1 talisman left, but he was never going to take it out because it was his talisman. Go back, pack and inform the others, said Mu Qingying. If you need anything, just call me. Mu Xiao went back to his room, but he looked strange. People in the outside courtyard were waiting for him. When they saw him come back, they smiled and asked, "Master Mu Xiao, how did it go?" "Practice hard, I may not be here to help you anymore in the future," said Mu Xiao smiling. Everybody smiled. "Master Mu Xiao, don't forget about us in the future." Good luck, everybody congratulated him, even though they were jealous. Lin Feng looked surprised, but he immediately understood what was going on. He smiled indifferently when Mu Xiao looked at him. "Lin Feng, Miss Qingying said you're quite good. You should continue with your efforts." "I will," said Lin Feng nodding. Then, Mu Xiao left and packed his stuff. He was going to move to the inner courtyard. Lin Feng was still waiting for an opportunity. Some months passed, and Mu Xiao came to visit them occasionally. At that moment, Mu Qingying was in a courtyard. She stretched her back, making her breasts look even perkier. Mu Xiao was drooling, but when Miss Qingying looked at him, he immediately looked elsewhere. "Mu Xiao, you must be tired too, but there's something I still want to talk to you about. Your deployment spells are not as good as before. You need to start making perfect deployment spells like that one day," said Mu Qingying in a grave and solemn way. "I understand," said Mu Xiao nodding. "Miss, I want to tell you something." "Tell me," said Mu Qingying. "On that day, I checked everybody's deployment spells, and although Lin Feng begged you to join us, he's still too weak. His deployment spells are really bad, and he's not interested in learning. I think we should expel him, said Mu Xiao. Mu Qinying remained silent and then nodded, we don't need to keep any trash here. I'll take care of it. Mu Xiao turned around and got ready to leave. Qinying, said a voice in the distance. It was a beautiful woman, she had beautiful long hair, beautiful eyes, she was slim. Miss Lin Shui, said Qinying, smiling at her. Lin Shui, how come you're here? I need one of your guards, said Mu Lin Shui. Mu Qinying glanced at her and said, you should have asked the clan to help you with that, you always rely on yourself after all. Chapter 1621, I'll help you, I'm used to it, said Mu Lin Shui. I know how talented you're though. My guards can't help you, said Mu Qinying. Actually, Mu Lin Shui was right, nobody could really help her. She didn't really need guards, but she was getting ready for the tournament, so she needed someone to give her new ideas. Let's go. You just can't choose Mu Xiao. He'll be turning 30 this year and he'll be helping me at the tournament. You can choose anyone else though, said Mu Qinying smiling. Mu Lin Shui and Mu Qinying were about the same age. However, Mu Lin Shui was much more talented and even more beautiful. She admired Mu Lin Shui. I understand, said Mu Lin Shui nodding. Since Mu Qinying wanted Mu Xiao for herself, Mu Lin Shui wasn't going to choose him. Mu Xiao listened to them and then watched them leave. Mu Qinying was beautiful, but Mu Lin Shui was even more beautiful. Two beautiful girls together, side by side, what a scene. They arrived in the outer courtyard and called the guards. Mu Qinying smiled at Mu Lin Shui and said, Lin Shui, these are all my guards. Mu Lin Shui. Lin Feng looked at Mu Lin Shui, immediately thinking that she was beautiful. She had perfect breasts, but she still looked pure and innocent. The guards didn't even dare look at her. Mu Lin Shui looked at Lin Feng, thinking that he looked handsome and unfathomable. It seemed like he had been through a lot. That was the reason why she immediately took note of him. The others didn't dare look at her, but Lin Feng did. Not only did he just look at her, he continued looking at her in a calm way, as if he didn't seem scared. She looks like Mu Yun, thought Lin Feng. How would Mu Lin Shui react if she knew what he was thinking? Lin Shui, whom do you want? Asked Mu Qinying. The crowd looked nervous. Mu Lin Shui didn't have a single guard, so the one she chose was probably going to stay with her all the time. Just thinking about it made them all feel excited. Lin Feng hoped he would become her guard, that would be the opportunity he had been waiting for. Miss Lin Shui, I would like to become your guard, said Lin Feng. He had to act bold now, otherwise, she might choose one of the others. Mu Qinying looked at Lin Feng, she looked furious as said, Mu Xiao said he wanted you to leave the clan just a few minutes ago. You only joined the clan for me and now you want to follow Lin Shui. You must be dreaming. You won't become Lin Shui's guard, the Mu clan doesn't need such trash. Lin Feng knew what she meant, he should have become Mu Qinying's guard, but he hadn't tried because he wasn't interested. When Mu Xiao saw that Lin Feng was looking at him, he turned his head. He wanted to expel Lin Feng on his own to avoid any trouble. Lin Feng, you're not a bad deployment spellcaster but you don't make any efforts. I told Miss Qinying you should leave, so please do, said Mu Xiao to Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at him in a cold way, he was starting to get upset. Then he looked at Mu Lin Shui again and said, Miss Lin Shui, I would like to become your guard. How audacious, said Mu Qinying. Back then you begged me to join the Mu clan's government, and I gave you a chance. Now you're just trying to fool Lin Shui in the same way. Qinying, I just need an assistant, not someone to help me with deployment spells. Since you want him to leave, it's perfect, I can take him with me without bothering you, said Mu Lin Shui. Miss Lin Shui, said Mu Qinying, he's a bad guy, he might even be a pervert. Back then, he begged me to join the government. He can't do anything to me, said Mu Lin Shui. Alright, said Mu Qinying nodding. She didn't insist on it, she just glanced at Lin Feng in a cold way and said, "You better behave yourself." "I'm off," said Mu Lin Shui, nodding at Mu Qingying. Then she looked at Lin Feng and said, "Let's go." Lin Feng started walking, but when he passed next to Mu Qingying, he stopped for a few seconds and whispered, "I never joined the Mu clan for you." Then, he followed Mu Lin Shui away. Mu Qingying repeated, "You didn't join for me. I see, you wanted to punch above your weight." Lin Feng ignored her. His goal was Mu Lin Shui and he was finally getting there now. Mu Lin Shui took Lin Feng to her own inner courtyard. Each noble disciple from the Mu clan had their own courtyard. Lin Feng and Mu Lin Shui then immediately went to her laboratory where she fabricated weapons. The room was gigantic, a gigantic cauldron stood out the most, though it looked different from the cauldrons alchemists used. That one was more like an oven in that it could shut. There were several tools on that oven, a hammer, fire tongs were amongst those Lin Feng was familiar with. "Why did you want to become my guard?" asked Mu Lin Shui to Lin Feng. She had the feeling that Lin Feng wasn't someone that was easy to understand. At least, she didn't think that he looked like a piece of trash like Mu Qingying said. "I didn't want to become your guard, I wanted to help you," said Lin Feng calmly. Mu Lin Shui looked surprised. Even if she thought Lin Feng didn't look like trash, she wouldn't have thought he'd say such a thing. People who were better than her at fabricating weapons could be counted with just one hand, and those people were preparing the tournament, so they couldn't help her. "How can you help me?" asked Mu Lin Shui, she was curious. "I understand deployment spells," said Lin Feng calmly. Mu Lin Shui looked unhappy and said, "I'm like you, I'm proud, but I've never said that I understand deployment spells. Maybe we have different ways of talking, but at least the deployment spells I understand can help you," said Lin Feng. Mu Lin Shui looked excited now. She just said, "All right, since it's that way, I'll give you one opportunity to prove it. Go out and get some materials for me, use this ring to buy some things. When you come back, we'll start fabricating weapons." Chapter 1622, Fabricating Imperial Weapons. Lin Feng went to town, and when he came back, Mu Lin Shui was right where he left her. The only difference now was that it was scorching hot inside. Inside the oven, there was a fire with 5 colors, and Mu Lin Shui was controlling that fire. Lin Feng watched her, studying how she moved her fingers in the fire. Mu Lin Shui possessed a bestial-like fire, it was wild and fierce as it continued to grow hotter. "Did you get everything?" asked Mu Lin Shui to Lin Shui without turning her head. "I have everything," said Lin Feng, throwing the ring at Mu Lin Shui. She wasn't facing Lin Feng, but when the ring neared her back, she still managed to catch it from behind. In a flash, all the items appeared outside of the ring. "Look at that deployment spell, and when the right time comes, carve the marks. I hope I won't be too disappointed, otherwise, you won't have a second chance," said Mu Lin Shui calmly. It was exhausting for her to prepare the items. Besides, the materials she used were very expensive, so if the deployment spell failed, she wouldn't be very happy with Lin Feng. With that, she threw a book at him. "I will do my best." Lin Feng nodded and took the book. He inspected it with his godly awareness and studied the marks. Very quickly, he reopened his eyes. A short time after, Mu Lin Shui put more materials in the fire. There were many techniques to fabricate weapons, and weapon manufacturers could either use existing techniques or make up new ones. However, relying on one's own techniques was very difficult because it was difficult to know what items and materials to use. It was a process of trying repeatedly before succeeding. Most masters didn't try that, they usually tried to modify an existing technique. "Sword," thought Lin Feng. The weapon still didn't have a shape, but he could tell that it was going to be very sharp. "Carve the marks," shouted Mu Lin Shui suddenly. Lin Feng immediately moved to the cauldron, and even though it was scorching hot, Lin Feng practiced fire cultivation, so it didn't affect him. Slash! Lin Feng released earth abstruse energy to the carve marks, which were incredibly clear. They almost looked alive. Earth abstruse strength, I can change the shape of the weapon based on the energy used to carve the formations. With earth energy, we can make a heavy sword, thought Mu Lin Shui. Mu Lin Shui couldn't wait to see what kind of weapon they'd managed to make. Lin Feng kept shaking his hands. Each time, the marks etched themselves onto the weapon. Progressively, heavy energies weighed down on the air around them. Mu Lin Shui started looking at it in a strange way. He modified the deployment spell I gave him and is using his own marks, thought Mu Lin Shui. She was wondering whether Lin Feng had thought of modifying it when he read the book or if he changed it on the spot. Changing the deployment spell could have dramatic consequences. Although it was more complicated, if Lin Feng really changed it on the spot, then he really might have a chance at helping her. More and more marks appeared, now destructive energies were invading the space around them. Mu Lin Shui looked pensive, she was wondering what kind of weapon would be suitable for that deployment spell. Mu Lin Shui initially wanted to make a Peerless holy weapon thinking it would be easier for Lin Feng, but now her plans were changing. After Lin Feng changed the deployment spell, she had decided to change the weapon, maybe making it into an imperial weapon. Lin Feng continued carving marks, eventually carving the last one. A terrifying strength filled the room after the last mark was drawn. If Lin Feng had carved those onto a talisman, it would have been enough to threaten a low-level emperor. With Mu Lin Shui's experience, that weapon could be terrifying. After Lin Feng carved the marks, Mu Lin Shui nodded at him with a smile which said that she acknowledged Lin Feng's talent. Mu Lin Shui added some materials in the fire, and after that, she used a gigantic hammer to give it a better shape. Ding! A loud clanking sound resounded each time her hammer fell. Lin Feng smiled, he thought that a beautiful woman using a hammer was a funny scene. I'll help you, said Lin Feng to Mu Lin Shui. Lin Feng, that's the dancing wind hammer technique, it's not suitable for you. I'll help you learn another hammer technique, but no matter which hammer technique you use, the goal is to make the weapon perfect. Just watch and learn, said Mu Lin Shui, still hammering the weapon. Lin Feng nodded, accepting that he had no experience. He agreed that the hammer technique wasn't suitable for him. How interesting, thought Lin Feng. He was captivated, but not by her body, but by her movements. Each movement was important, contributing to the overall strength and precision of each strike. Even with her skill, the chances of failing were quite high. An average level 1 professor had a 70% chance of failing while making imperial weapons. When she makes weapons, she's controlling the intensity of the fire as she slowly defines the shape of the weapon, thought Lin Feng. Now it made more sense as to why a powerful soul and fire was required. After hammering the weapon for what seemed to be 1,000,000 times, a strong wind blew throughout the room. It didn't affect Lin Feng though, he was still focused on what was going on. He wanted to make sure that the weapon was perfect. The weapon is almost finished, said Mu Lin Shui to Lin Feng. The fire became even hotter at this point. Lin Feng looked at her face, noticing that they were both covered in sweat. It's much more complicated than concocting pills, but weapons serve a different purpose in battles as they can help cultivators make up for their deficiencies, thought Lin Feng. Time passed and then the sword started shaking, even the room around them started shaking. Mu Lin Shui didn't stop focusing, they were only one step away now. Rise, said Mu Lin Shui, raising her head. Condense. Mu Lin Shui shook her hands and the fire marks flew throughout the weapon. The scene was incredible, it was the first time Lin Feng had seen something like that. Finally, the sword rose up and whistled. It seemed heavy, destructive, and sharp. We did it, said Mu Lin Shui, smiling in a resplendent way. She looked at Lin Feng and said, we did it, it's a level 1 imperial weapon. You should clean yourself up. Lin Feng said, glancing at her clothes. She wasn't wearing much and since she was drenched in sweat, anyone could see through her clothes. Lin Feng was getting turned on. Mu Lin Shui looked embarrassed. Usually, She was always alone when she fabricated weapons, so this was the first time a man was with her when she looked like this. "I'll go and change my clothes," said Mu Lin Shui, leaving hastily as if she had forgotten about the imperial weapon. "Lin Shui made another imperial weapon," said an old man at that moment. He looked pleasantly surprised. Even though Mu Lin Shui was a level 1 professor, making an imperial weapon still wasn't easy for her. At that moment, Mu Qingying was in the air when she saw the imperial weapon. She thought to herself, "I wonder when I'll be able to make imperial weapons." Lin Shui is too talented, she only relies on herself and still manages to make such powerful weapons. Chapter 1623, Working in Team. Mu Lin Shui changed clothes and came back. She now looked clean and beautiful. She smiled at Lin Feng and said, "Let's go and see." Then, they both rose up in the air and looked at the sword. "Come," said Mu Lin Shui to the sword. In a flash, it flew to her hand, whistling as it went. Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz. The sword kept shaking, then it left Mu Lin Shui's hand and moved to Lin Feng. It turned around him and whistled even louder. Lin Feng looked surprised, noticing that the sword possessed a soul. Lin Shui and Lin Feng had made it together, so they could easily modify it if they wanted to. "Lin Shui, you became even better at making weapons," said a middle-aged man who walking to Mu Lin Shui while smiling. "Uncle," said Mu Lin Shui, nodding at the middle-aged man. She didn't say too much. "If you continue improving like this, you'll soon be able to make level 2 imperial weapons. But right now, you're still not stronger than Yan Feng, especially comparing your fires. Besides, he also has someone to help him with deployment spells. He can make level 3 imperial weapons, so if you can, I hope you'll participate in the tournament in a team with him." "You'd be a perfect match," said the middle-aged man. However, Mu Lin Shui frowned and said, "I'm a member of the Mu clan. Why would I join with Yan Feng? He's a good boy for you, Lin Shui. You want me to join the Yan clan and help him? You only want him to be my master," said Mu Lin Shui in a cold way. "Why don't you make your daughter leave the clan instead?" The middle-aged man groaned coldly and said, "When the tournament finishes, if you lose, you'll have to marry him no matter what. After I leave, your daughter will get the best education. Am I right?" said Mu Lin Shui. "That's enough," said an old man. He glanced at them firmly, then he said to Mu Lin Shui, "Lin Shui, you know about Sword Mountain and the Yan clan, they fabricate weapons exclusively for Sword Mountain, so they can very easily oppress our clan. Yan Feng likes you, so there's a lot of pressure on our shoulders to wed you." "I know, Grandpa, but you know how evil that guy is," replied Mu Lin Shui. "But if I don't give the Yan clan face, they will oppress us even more, because they will have an excuse. Of course, the clan is trying to help you, which is why we've determined some rules. If you win, you can do whatever you want, and the clan will make great efforts to make you become even stronger. There are only a few months left before the tournament, so we need to try and find someone who can help you with deployment spells." "I understand, thank you for showing your willingness to help," replied Mu Lin Shui bowing. "But you don't need to find a deployment spell caster to help me, I'm good on my own." "You're so stubborn," said the old man smiling wryly. "Since that's what you want, I won't insist." The old man thought that Mu Lin Shui was going to lose this time. The genius from the Yan clan was too good. Even on his own, he could make great weapons. It was rumored that he was already a level 2 professor. Mu Lin Shui didn't mention Lin Feng because she didn't know if Lin Feng could help her win against Yan Feng yet. She still needed to see how good Lin Feng could really be. "Lin Shui, if you make great efforts, you'll win," said Mu Qingying smiling. "Thanks," said Mu Lin Shui nodding. Mu Qingying glanced at Lin Feng and asked, "Lin Shui, did he offend you?" "Don't worry," said Mu Lin Shui shaking her head. She took the sword and gave it to Lin Feng. Then she smiled and said, "Take the sword." "No need, it's not useful for me," said Lin Feng, shaking his head. There were many types of holy weapons and imperial weapons. Lin Feng already had an empty space robe and the scepter. Those weapons were very difficult to make and even harder to replace. An ordinary imperial weapon like this wasn't any better than Lin Feng's talismans. "Alright. I'll ask someone to clean the laboratory, so you can have a rest," said Mu Lin Shui, smiling at Lin Feng. "You can walk around, just don't go to other people's courtyards." Mu Lin Shui then rose up in the air and left. Lin Feng had nothing to do, so he just walked in circles in Mu Lin Shui's courtyard. "Uncle Mui, I'll do my best to help Lin Shui defeat Yan Feng." "I hope this is what you wanted me to do," said Lin Feng, looking at the sky. Mu Lin Shui eventually came back and walked over to Lin Feng, whispering, "I wouldn't have thought that you would be so good at deployment spells. Why would you want to be an ordinary guard in the Mu clan?" Lin Feng looked at her, infatuated in her beauty. He smiled and said, "If I told you I came here because of you, would you believe me?" Mu Lin Shui looked surprised, but smiled and said, "Mu Qingying was right, you're a bad boy. It doesn't matter, she thinks I joined the Mu clan for her, but actually, she means nothing to me," said Lin Feng. Then he asked, "By the way, how far is Sword Mountain from Goldfire City?" "It's not that far. It's in a mountain range away from the city. The Yan clan makes swords exclusively for their cultivators." "I see." Lin Feng nodded, "I know some people in Sword Mountain. One of them is a girl, and she has the same name as you, but her family name isn't Mu, it's Lin. Her name is Lin Shui." "What a coincidence." Mu Lin Shui was surprised and asked, "How did you meet her?" "I have another friend who's a cultivator in Sword Mountain, and he's Lin Shui's fellow disciple." "I saw them together before," said Lin Feng, referring to Wuxia. "Maybe you can introduce them to me at some point. By the way, here is a hammering technique. It's good that you know earth strength, it can be especially useful for you. That hammer technique can help me out a lot. Since you came here for me, I guess you can ask me any questions you have," said Mu Lin Shui, handing a book over to Lin Feng. Then she smiled in a gentle way. "Of course," said Lin Feng, smiling. He was willing to help her. Lin Feng practiced the hammer technique for 3 days before he started helping Mu Lin Shui refine her weapons again. A month later, inside the lab, deployment mark strength filled the room. Each time Lin Feng hammered down, loud banging sounds resounded, fires jumping in every direction. Lin Feng was finally getting used to it. Mu Lin Shui controlled the fire and the materials which were burnt. In that month, Lin Feng and Mu Lin Shui's weapons were becoming better and better. They didn't even need to talk to each other anymore, their teamwork was perfectly coordinated. "Fire rise," said Mu Lin Shui. Fire moved in every direction, magma gushing out of the cauldron. Lin Feng continued hammering the weapon into something flat and extremely heavy. Finally, once they finished, an incandescent sword appeared in front of them. "Peerless holy weapon, almost an imperial weapon. It's just because we used ordinary materials," Mu Lin Shui said, smiling happily. Then she looked at Lin Feng. They worked well together, they could even make peerless holy weapons as they wished, as well as imperial weapons if they used better materials. "Thank you, Lin Feng," Mu Lin Shui said to Lin Feng. He was covered in sweat, so she stretched out her hand and wiped his sweat away with her sleeve. Lin Feng was embarrassed. "I told you, I came to the Mu clan for you," said Lin Feng, smiling. "I'll continue using you as my slave then," said Mu Lin Shui, smiling teasingly. They were getting closer every day, they were joking all the time now. "As you wish," said Lin Feng, shrugging. "Let's go get some better materials, we need to use our full strength next time," said Mu Lin Shui, smiling. She wanted to see if they could make level 2 imperial weapons now. Chapter 1624, Yan Feng. Lin Feng smiled and nodded, then they went to town to buy the materials. "Miss Lin Shui." Mu Qinying was in Mu Lin Xue's inner courtyard and was smiling. Her courtyard was next to Mu Lin Xue's, so it wasn't surprising to see her. "Miss Lin Xue, are you going to buy materials yourself?" asked Mu Qinying. "Indeed. I'm going to buy a few materials, and I can't waste time," said Mu Lin Xue honestly, nodding. "Alright, I'm going shopping too." "Let's go together," said Mu Qinying. "Alright, why not?" said Mu Lin Xue. Mu Qinying looked at Mu Xiao and said, "Mu Xiao, come with me." "Roger, Qinying," said Mu Xiao. Lin Feng looked surprised. Mu Xiao was now calling Qinying by her name. They had become close too, just like him and Mu Lin Xue. Even though Mu Xiao had plotted against Lin Feng, he only ended up helping him. The four of them walked out. Mu Qinying was chatting with Mu Lin Xue while Lin Feng and Mu Xiao were walking behind them. Even though Mu Qinying didn't like Lin Feng, she didn't say anything. "Congratulations," whispered Lin Feng to Mu Xiao. Mu Xiao frowned and looked at Lin Feng in a cold way. He was furious. He had hoped Lin Feng and Mu Lin Xue weren't too close. "Lin Feng, you're too lucky. Surprisingly, Miss Lin Xue lets you stay with her." "You better enjoy it," said Mu Xiao, insisting on the last words. "I will do my best," said Lin Feng smiling. The four of them left the governmental buildings of the Mu clan, and as soon as they did, a group of people appeared in the sky above them. They were looking at Mu Lin Xue and the others. Yan Feng. Mu Qinying was surprised. Mu Lin Xue looked at them in a cold way. "Lin Xue, long time no see." "I missed you so much," said Yan Feng smiling. "You're shameless," shouted Mu Lin Xue. "My future wife, why are you saying I'm shameless?" asked Yan Feng. He didn't care, he felt like he had the situation under control. "Who's your future wife?" shouted Mu Lin Xue. "3 more months and then we'll be married." "We'll see if you dare say anything then," said Yan Feng. He glanced at Lin Feng and Mu Xiao and said, "Boys should stay away from my woman, otherwise, I'll have to teach you a lesson." "You're insane," shouted Mu Lin Xue furiously. But Yan Feng smiled and said, "Lin Xue, your people are my people." Yan Feng then left with his friends. Mu Xiao looked upset, he felt humiliated even. Yan Feng was extremely talented. As expected, someone like Mu Xiao couldn't become friends with someone like Mu Lin Xue. It was his goal to marry Mu Qinying anyways, so it didn't matter. "How arrogant and shameless," whispered Lin Feng. However, it wasn't that much a surprise that he was so arrogant. He was from a clan who was stronger than the Mu clan and he was a disciple of Sword Mountain. Mu Lin Xue's heart was pounding, she was furious. But she quickly tried to control herself. "Everything will be alright," said Lin Feng to Mu Lin Xue. Mu Lin Xue smiled at him in a resplendent way and said, "Right, everything will be alright." Then, they continued walking. However, Mu Lin Xue couldn't manage to calm down. She was happy with Lin Feng, but they still weren't strong enough. Yan Feng was already a level 2 professor, and maybe he'd be able to make level 3 imperial weapons at the tournament. Mu Qinying glanced at Lin Feng and said to Lin Xue, "Sister Lin Xue, don't let insignificant people fool you." How come Lin Feng was so close to Mu Lin Xue? Mu Lin Xue glanced at Mu Qinying and shook her head. But Lin Feng smiled and said, "That applies to you even more than me, don't let insignificant people fool you." Mu Xiao looked furious. "Since when did scumbags get so determined?" said Mu Qinying in a cold way. Then, she walked to Mu Lin Xue and pushed Lin Feng backwards. At the same time, she said, "Sister Lin Xue, I know you're a kind person but don't let him fool you, he begged me to join the Mu clan back when." "Don't worry, I'm a grown-up and can make my own decisions," said Mu Lin Xue smiling wryly. She wanted to defend Lin Feng, but it was better to hide her feelings. She hoped Lin Feng and her would amaze everyone at the tournament. Then the four of them went to Goldfire City Market. Mu Lin Xue had prepared lots of things to trade: fate seeds, peerless holy weapons, imperial weapons. She really hoped Lin Feng and her could manage to make level 2 imperial weapons together with the materials they bought there. After half a day, Mu Lin Shui had found everything she needed. She wanted to go back, but at that moment, 3 people appeared in front of them. One of them had an ancient sword on his back and he was walking towards her. It was an emperor, a sword emperor. The 2 people on his sides also had swords resting on their backs. People from Sword Mountain. Mu Lin Shui thought. She said, "Master, I'm Mu Lin Shui, I've never offended Sword Mountain." "Miss Lin Shui, you haven't indeed, but the 2 people behind you offended Yan Feng, so they must die," said the Sword Emperor. Mu Xiao was scared, he hadn't thought that Yan Feng would do that to them. Although he was upset, he couldn't do much. If Sword Mountain wanted to kill him, they could. "Master, you're an emperor from Sword Mountain, how could you kill 2 little boys?" asked Mu Lin Shui calmly and indifferently. "Of course, I won't attack, I only came to ensure your safety. My partners will kill those boys." "Alright, make them fight then," said Mu Lin Shui calmly. "Lin Shui." Mu Qinying looked upset. Mu Lin Shui didn't care about Lin Feng, but Mu Qinying cared about Mu Xiao, how could she let him die? "Sister Lin Shui, I like people like you. Why are you 2 still not attacking?" said the emperor to his 2 partners. Then, they both fused with their swords and flew forwards. "Mu Xiao," said Mu Qinying. Suddenly, terrifying abstruse energies filled the space around them. Lin Feng moved back with incredible speed. Qinying was surprised, that bastard was escaping. Dong! Lin Feng suddenly jumped forwards and a gigantic stone enveloped him with Mu Xiao and the 2 attackers. Now, everybody around them couldn't see them. His eyes suddenly became pitch black as he condensed demon and death abstruse energies. Oof! The one who was attacking Lin Feng started shaking after he saw Lin Feng's eyes. Die! When Mu Xiao saw that the cultivator attacking them had stopped moving, he released his own fire energies. However, his fire didn't affect the cultivator too much. Lin Feng's death energy had already caused a lot of damage. "Lin Shui doesn't want me to show how strong I am," thought Lin Feng. He said to the other sword cultivator, using telepathy, "Here." That person looked at Lin Feng, staring into his eyes. Then, demon, death and cursing abstruse energies started corrupting his body. After having broken through to the 9th Zun Qi layer, Lin Feng's best abstruse energies were demon, earth, death and cursing abstruse energies. Few people could resist him who were at the same level. Lin Feng's attack allowed Mu Xiao to use his fire. After a short time, the stone disappeared, and the 2 sword cultivators had already died, burnt alive by Mu Xiao's fire. Chapter 1625, Mu Xiao's plot. "They're dead," the Sword Emperor was astonished. He hadn't cared to watch the battle because he'd assumed his companions would make easy work of the 2 guards. Mu Qinying was also surprised. She was looking at Mu Xiao, wondering when Mu Xiao had become that strong. Of course, she didn't even consider that Lin Feng had done anything. She just thought he had tried to run away. Mu Lin Shui wasn't surprised. She knew that Lin Feng's abstruse energies were terrifying. That's why she agreed to the fight in the first place. "Master, what are you doing? You can't get angry because of their battle, right?" said Mu Lin Shui after she noticed the emperor was upset. "Very good," said the Sword Emperor in a cold way. He wanted to kill Lin Feng and Mu Xiao right then, but he turned into a light and left. 2 disciples from Sword Mountain had died against 2 guards from the Mu clan. This was an embarrassment. "Let's go back," said Mu Lin Shui to Lin Feng and Mu Xiao. Then the 4 of them left. Mu Qinying walked to Mu Xiao and said something. She looked curious, she wanted to know how Mu Xiao had won. Mu Lin Shui and Lin Feng went to the lab. Mu Lin Shui gave a book to Lin Feng and said, "This time, I want to make an imperial armor." The deployment spell for it is in here, so have a look. Lin Feng nodded and inspected the book. Each time, before Mu Lin Shui started making weapons, they agreed on everything so that they could make the best weapon possible. I can make that deployment spell better, I just hope it will be suitable for the armor, said Lin Feng. Mu Lin Shui smiled and said, it seems like you've never used your full strength then. You haven't either, said Lin Feng. Then they both laughed. Mu Lin Shui then looked at Lin Feng in a serious way and said, let's get serious. Let's see if we can make weapons at a higher level. I will never refuse your requests, said Lin Feng smiling. Thank you, Lin Feng. Mu Lin Shui nodded, she could see that Lin Feng was being honest and kind-hearted. She didn't ask him anything, Lin Feng just told her everything she needed to know. Let's start. You do you, especially if you can improve the spell. I really hope we can succeed, said Mu Lin Shui. After discussing the details, Mu Lin Shui released her fire. This time, her fire was brighter than ever. Lin Feng could sense how incredible her fire was, which implied that her soul was probably very powerful as well. Mu Lin Shui made the gold melt, then she dipped it and polished it. Each of her movements were very precise. Lin Feng calmly watched her. Then, he started carving deployment marks. They were making an armor this time, so Lin Feng didn't use a shattering deployment spell, but a defensive one. He was an expert at casting offensive deployment spells, but not defensive deployment spells. No matter, he still did his best. He changed the deployment spell again, it looked amazing. It's almost a pity to cast such an incredible defensive deployment spell on this armor. I wonder if it'll be perfect for the armor though. Thought Mu Lin Shui as she watched Lin Feng. It was the first time she saw Lin Feng so focused, because he was trying harder this time, it was also taking him longer to draw the marks. Mu Lin Shui was filled with anticipation. With a great deployment spell and great materials, what would their imperial armor look like? In another courtyard, in another lab, Mu Qingying and Mu Xiao were also trying to create an imperial weapon. It was the first time they had tried. Mu Qingying was covered with sweat, her cauldron was surrounded by a dazzling fire. Mu Xiao had just finished carving deployment marks, was now hammering away at the weapon. They were trying to make a big blade and they were almost done. Mu Qingying was nervous, she knew that if she wanted to participate in the tournament, she had to get better. It wasn't that there were a limited number of people allowed to participate, it was that the Mu clan wouldn't let people go if they weren't good enough. Otherwise, they would end up humiliating them. The blade was looking better and better, it was already starting to emit buzzing sounds. Like most people, she could only make swords and blades. She didn't have the knowledge or the power to fabricate special weapons such as scepters or ancient mirrors. Finally, the blade twinkled, it even looked bloodthirsty. Condense, said Mu Qingying. Lights rose up to the skies, piercing through the ceiling of their room. An imperial weapon. Mu Qingying was pleasantly surprised, she had finally made an imperial weapon. Qingying, we did it, said Mu Xiao happily. He had helped Mu Qingying fabricate an imperial weapon. Even though he had initially cheated to become her personal assistant, he still worked hard to prove to her that he was worth it. He spent most of his time studying. He knew that the only way to make Qingying fall in love with him was to improve his contributions. Indeed, we did it, said Mu Qingying, smiling in a resplendent way. When Mu Xiao saw her resplendent smile, he slowly walked towards her and put his hands on her cheeks. It looked like he wanted to wipe the sweat from her forehead. Qingying, you're really beautiful. Mu Qingying shivered and suddenly her facial expression changed drastically. How shameless. Mu Xiao's facial expression suddenly changed too as he jumped backwards. Qingying, Mu Xiao, you've gone too far, shouted Mu Qingying. Mu Xiao's heart twitched as he said, Miss Qingying, you're too beautiful, and I've liked you for so long, I'm crazy about you. I wouldn't have made such efforts if it weren't for you. I know that my social status is low, and I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry for upsetting you. I know what I have to do. Miss, take care, said Mu Xiao, slowly walking backwards. Then, he turned around and left. Mu Qingying was giving him a cold stare. They had already fabricated an imperial weapon and now there wasn't much time left before the tournament, so Mu Qingying couldn't let him go. Stop. Mu Qingying calmed down and took in a breath. Do you need me to do anything else, miss? Mu Xiao asked. You can't go, said Mu Qingying. If I hadn't done that, I would have continued secretly dreaming about you, but now I made a mistake and you despise me. I can't stay. If you want to kill me, I'll understand, said Mu Xiao, lowering his head. He was trying to look like victim to force Mu Qingying's hand. By now, there were many people gathered outside her lab. Mu Qingying had surprisingly made an imperial weapon. Qingying, you did it, said someone who was pleasantly surprised. It was Mu Qingying's father. Mu Xiao, I reacted too aggressively. I don't despise you, I actually like you. Please forget about my outburst before. I went too far, so I'm sorry, said Mu Qingying in a low voice. What you mean to say is that you want to be with me, asked Mu Xiao, staring at Qingying. I need some time to think about it, alright, asked Mu Qingying. I will do everything for you, I would even die for you, said Mu Xiao. Chapter 1626, Efforts. Mu Qingying was confused and had mixed feelings. She hadn't thought Mu Xiao would do that, and she had never thought Mu Xiao would ever become her boyfriend. Even though she wasn't as amazing as Mu Lin Shui, she was still very beautiful, and she could get a much better boyfriend if she tried. However, she knew what kind of threat Mu Xiao would pose her if he left now. Let's go out and greet everyone, said Mu Qingying, avoiding the topic. Then she ran towards everyone who were currently inspecting the weapon she just made. They all smiled pleasantly when they saw Mu Qingying come out. Qingying, congratulations. Now you're a real weapon artisan. Qingying, it seems like you're going to be able to participate in the tournament. Everybody was complimenting Qingying. Some people were jealous too, especially anyone who was around the same age as her. Mu Qingying had made an imperial weapon, which meant she'd surely be able to make it to the tournament, meaning less opportunities for them to be qualified. Father, said Mu Qingying, she was looking at a middle-aged man, and smiling in a resplendent way. Qingying, not bad, you're even catching up with Lin Shui. You'll certainly participate in the tournament now, said Mu Qingying's father. Mu Qingying almost forgot about what happened with Mu Xiao a moment before because she was so very happy. Everyone was flattering her, and she couldn't get enough of it. She had been jealous of Mu Lin Shui, but she just never showed it. Now, she felt like she could be treated like Mu Lin Shui. I really don't deserve so much praise, father. Sister Lin Shui has been making imperial weapons for a long time already, said Mu Qingying smiling. You're all level 1 professors now, so it doesn't matter whether she's been doing it for a while or not, said her father. Slash. Strange sounds and a terrifying qi were coming from Mu Lin Shui's courtyard. Then, her laboratory exploded, dazzling lights lighting up the night sky. With those lights, a dazzling armor appeared in the sky. Level 2 imperial weapon, the quality of it is incredible too, the crowd was astonished. Someone had made a level 2 imperial weapon. Then, 2 silhouettes rose up in the air. One was the most beautiful woman of the Mu clan, Mu Lin Shui. Mu Qingying's father was dumbfounded. He had just said that his daughter was as talented as Mu Lin Shui, but a few minutes later, Mu Lin Shui already proved she was more talented by creating a level 2 imperial weapon. Mu Qingying was just as stunned as her father. She initially looked happy, but now she looked dispirited. Lin Shui could already make level 2 imperial weapons. Miss, we still have time to try and make level 2 imperial weapons, said Mu Xiao. Mu Qingying turned around and nodded, indeed, we still have time, so we need to try as well. More strong cultivators gathered, including many older people. Making level 2 imperial weapons under the age of 30 was something incredible. Even in the Mu clan, only 2 people could do that, and the other one was even older than Mu Lin Shui, almost 30. Lin Shui, I will get even better materials for you. If you need someone to help you, just ask and I will help you find someone, said Mu Lin Shui's second grandfather. No need, I can do it myself, said Mu Lin Shui, shaking her head. Finding someone better than Lin Feng was impossible. Even if she did find someone, they wouldn't help her like Lin Feng. Weapon craftspeople were proud, and they didn't like doing things for other people for free. Even though she didn't know why Lin Feng was so good to her, at least she knew he was honest and kind-hearted, that was enough. All right, replied her second grandfather. She was stubborn and expected this answer. However, even if she could make level 2 imperial weapons now, it still wasn't enough to defeat Yan Feng. All right, everybody can disperse, said the old man waving. With that, everybody left, even the people around Mu Qingying left. Mu Qingying went to Mu Lin Shui and smiled, Sister Lin Shui, congratulations, you're a level 2 professor. If you found someone who could help you, you'd be able to beat Yan Feng. I will do my best. Qingying, you've improved as well. You just made an imperial weapon. We still have time, so let's do our best, said Mu Lin Shui smiling. Then, she took the armor and said to Lin Feng, take the armor. Mu Qingying took in a deep breath of surprise. Lin Shui wanted to give Lin Feng a level 2 imperial weapon. Miss Lin Shui, said Mu Qingying unhappily. What had that perverted bastard done to Lin Shui? Did he make her take drugs against her will? Lin Feng initially wanted to refuse, but when he saw Mu Qingying's reaction, he smiled and took it, thank you. She also didn't think that Lin Feng would take it, but then Mu Lin Shui said, all right, Qingying, you can leave. I have things to do. Mu Qingying's mouth was wide open. She was astonished, but finally, she nodded and said, I'm also going to make more weapons. Sister Lin Shui, be careful. After Mu Qingying left, Mu Lin Shui smiled at Lin Feng and shook her head, Lin Feng, Qingying is not a bad person, she just doesn't understand you. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. Mu Qingying was from a noble and powerful clan, even though she was talented, she hadn't traveled much. She was spoiled growing up that she had developed a bad temper. Lin Feng had no time to waste with such people, he wasn't her dad. Just beware of Mu Xiao, said Lin Feng indifferently. Mu Lin Shui turned around, beware of Mu Xiao. It seemed like she had to warn Mu Qingying if Lin Feng was serious. Mu Lin Shui looked at the cauldron and said, a level 2 imperial weapon isn't enough. We have to stabilize our knowledge and then continue improving. Lin Shui, said Lin Feng. First, think of what imperial weapon you want to make at the tournament, then, let's see what deployment spell we need. I still need to practice and improve my deployment spells. I should mention that I didn't use my full strength for that armor, I can even do better than that, said Lin Feng to Mu Lin Shui. He knew the 3,000 great deployment spells from a great emperor, how could that be the best he had? He just needed Mu Lin Shui to know exactly what she wanted to do and then he'd think of the deployment spell he could use. With some practice, he could figure it out before the tournament. Mu Lin Shui looked surprised, his deployment spells could be even more powerful. Lin Feng, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, said Mu Lin Shui smiling. You keep thanking me, said Lin Feng smiling wryly before he joked, since I keep telling you not to thank me, but you continue to anyways, how should I go about asking you to stop thanking me? Mu Lin Shui's eyes twinkled and she said, maybe we could have sex. Would you dare? Lin Feng was dumbstruck, he smiled wryly and said, I wouldn't dare. First, tell me what imperial weapon you want to make, I'll go for a walk while you decide. Mu Lin Shui looked at Lin Feng and smiled. She was thinking, you little cutie. You came to the Mu clan just to help me, and I thought you really liked me, but now I tried to offer you sex and you ran away. She leant against the wall and daydreamed about Lin Feng. Now, she had to think of which weapon she wanted to make. Lin Feng had told her he could make even better weapons, so if she used her full strength, used the best fire, and the best materials, maybe then she would be able to make a level 3 imperial weapon. If that happened, then maybe she could win against Yan Feng. Time passed, and the date of the event was quickly approaching. There were only 7 days left before Lin Feng finally came out of his room. As the sun shone upon him, Lin Feng closed his eyes and took in a deep breath of fresh air. "Finally, you came out," said Mu Lin Shui, smiling in a cute way. "I'm done. Should we try to make a level 3 imperial weapon?" "I think it'll be easy," said Lin Feng. "No need. We should rest and save our energy before the competition," said Mu Lin Shui. Then, she got closer to Lin Feng, smiled, and said, "Lin Feng, my life is in your hands." Chapter 1627, Evil Scheme. Lin Feng, my life is in your hands. Lin Feng looked at her resplendent smile, then he smiled back and asked, "What kind of weapons can Yan Feng make with an assistant?" "Yan Feng can make level 2 weapons on his own. With an assistant, he might be able to make level 3 imperial weapons, of higher quality," said Mu Lin Shui. She was a bit worried because everybody knew about Yan Feng's skill in the northern part of Goldfire City. He was an outstanding young man, while the Yan clan was rich and powerful, so it was no surprise that he had access to the best materials. "Level 3 imperial weapons," whispered Lin Feng. Then, he caressed Mu Lin Shui's head and smiled, "Leave it to me." Mu Lin Shui rolled her eyes and walked away. She looked embarrassed, and after Lin Feng noticed, he laughed and said jokingly, "Didn't you want to have sex with me?" Mu Lin Shui grinded her teeth after she heard Lin Feng. She knew he was only getting his revenge. Both of them sat down. Lin Feng closed his eyes, letting the sun warm his body. And after a few minutes of relaxing like this, he started dreaming. Mu Lin Shui watched Lin Feng without saying anything. She was surprised, wondering what he was doing. Was he resting? Had he really joined the Mu clan just for her? Why was Lin Feng helping her? The sun gradually moved westwards, and everything became dark, but Lin Feng was still motionless. Mu Lin Shui was still not that far from him. She had calmed herself down a bit, but it'd be a lie to say she was completely at peace. In the courtyard next to hers, Mu Qingying and Mu Xiao had just succeeded in making another peerless holy weapon. After that, Mu Qingying went to take a shower, washing away the sweat which had stained her skin from a long night's effort. Mu Xiao was near her, taking in her beautiful hair and supple breasts. Her curvy features were even more noticeable under the moonlight. Mu Xiao suddenly became very aroused, gulping down. He got closer, taking soft steps as he tried not to startle her. He was now close enough to smell her, pushing him forward even more. Mu Qingying frowned. She knew that Mu Xiao was behind her, but she didn't think he'd be this bold. Suddenly, 2 hands grabbed her from behind and she shouted, "Mu Xiao, what are you doing?" "Qingying, you're just too beautiful, I feel bewitched even," said Mu Xiao, firmly holding her. Mu Qingying wanted to push his hands away, but he held her firmly. Her heart started pounding. She didn't know what to do. "Mu Xiao, I want to focus on the tournament, so we'll have to wait and think about our relationship until after the tournament, all right?" asked Mu Qingying. She didn't try to push him away, she just put her hands on his hands and talked using a gentle way. Mu Xiao smiled in a cold way. After the tournament. They had already gone so far, and after the tournament she'd probably get rid of him. He didn't want to gamble that, especially if he had sex with her now, she wouldn't be able to get rid of him after the tournament. "Qingying, I love you so much, I promise I'll devote my entire life to you," said Mu Xiao, whispering in her ears. He didn't answer her question because he wanted to try his luck first. Mu Qingying bit her lips. She knew what he was thinking. If she got rid of him now, she wouldn't be able to make imperial weapons. She wouldn't even be able to participate in the tournament. Mu Qingying didn't know what to do, so Mu Xiao called her out on her hesitation. With that thinking, he held her even tighter, caressing her back. Ow, Mu Qingying moaned in pain. She couldn't stop him anymore. In the distance, Mu Lin Shui heard her moan and looked towards them. As she did, she saw Qingying and Mu Xiao acting very intimately. Qingying, said Mu Lin Shui suddenly. Mu Qingying and Mu Xiao turned at the same time, both looking back at Mu Lin Shui. Lin Feng also woke up and looked in their direction. He instantly knew what was going on after he saw Qingying and Mu Xiao. He immediately stood up, knowing Mu Xiao wouldn't hesitate resorting to evil methods for his own interests. Even though Lin Feng didn't like Mu Qingying, he didn't want her to get raped. Mu Xiao was furious, now he was regretting not taking Mu Qingying beforehand. Miss Lin Shui, I'm off, said Mu Xiao bowing before Lin Shui. He could do whatever he wanted with Qingying, but not with Mu Lin Shui there. Mu Lin Shui looked at him in a despising way. Then, she looked at Qingying and said, Qingying, how come you didn't see this coming? Miss Lin Shui, Mu Qingying didn't know how to explain. It's my fault. Lin Feng warned me about him and I should have told you, but I thought you'd notice if something was wrong. It's not too late now though. You can't let that shameless bastard bully you anymore, said Mu Lin Shui. Lin Feng. Mu Qingying was surprised, so she walked up to Lin Feng. Lin Feng had told Mu Lin Shui that Mu Xiao was shameless. He was way more shameless. Sister Lin Shui, how could you trust him? Whatever Mu Xiao does, Lin Feng must be worse. Don't let him fool you. Lin Feng was speechless. Qingying, Mu Xiao and Lin Feng can't be compared with each other, said Mu Lin Shui. How could Mu Xiao be worse than him? I helped Lin Feng join the Mu clan, and then he flirted with you. You have to be careful. Mu Qingying was still unconvinced. Even though Mu Xiao had gone too far, he still helped her make imperial weapons. Lin Shui didn't expect Qingying to react like that. Lin Shui still wanted to say something, but Mu Qingying interjected, Sister Lin Shui, don't worry. I know what I'm doing, and you know what you're doing. No matter what, Yan Feng is 100 times better than Lin Feng, so you won't have to worry much longer. With that, Qingying went back to her room. Mu Lin Shui looked at her and sighed, Yan Feng. She hadn't thought Mu Qingying would be that mean. Mu Lin Shui turned around and said, I'm sorry she offended you. Lin Feng smiled wryly and shrugged, I don't care. She's the only one who is going to suffer by not listening to us. I hope she'll find a solution. Let's go back now, sighed Mu Lin Shui, shaking her head. Mu Qingying went back to her room, still angry. How could Mu Lin Shui talk to her that way? Qingying. A short time after, Mu Xiao entered Mu Qingying's room and said, Qingying, Miss and Lin Feng went too far. Surprisingly, she keeps defending Lin Feng and she offended you. I'm alright, she said you're not as good as Lin Feng though, said Mu Qingying unhappily. But Mu Xiao didn't care about that, rather, he walked over to her and whispered, I will always protect you and make you happy. I don't care about what other people think as long as you love me. Mu Qingying felt nervous, but she kind of felt happy after she heard Mu Xiao. For most women, that's exactly what they wanted to hear. Suddenly, Mu Xiao put his arms around her again and said in a gentle way, Qingying, I will always protect you. Qingying shivered. She tried to move away, but Mu Xiao held her even tighter. He thought angrily, Mu Lin Shui, if I have the opportunity, I'll get you too. Surprisingly, you dared insult me. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.